And they are not cleaning the car. They are stood around talking. I don't know what language they're speaking in, but they're talking. They're talking away. I'm thinking, what is going on? I've left my car to get cleaned. This is a nightmare. I don't have a lot of time.
Welcome to Do You Know What I Mean podcast. Today I'm absolutely buzzing. I've got one of my mates and a great comic and a brilliant impressionist, Danny Posthill.
Oh, thanks for having me, mate. This is a pleasure. To be honest, it's took a while, hasn't it? Because we've been meaning to do it for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And now we're here. And I've got to say, I'm loving the studio, by the way.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it? Especially the ultimate. I mean, you've got Muhammad Ali, Richard Pratt, the Ultimate Warrior. I'm loving that one because that was when wrestling was wrestling. Do you know what I mean?
The best days.
When
wasn't it?
There was him, there was Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan. Remember Andre? Do you know that story? Andre the Giant. He drunk 150 beers in one sitting.
Yeah.
That's mental, that, isn't it?
Insane.
Tell that to people in Hartlepool or Borrell, they'll go, shut up, I'll be able to fucking do that, mate. You know what I mean? And we're fucking 5 bags of sniffing to us. Saying that, I actually went to watch that. Have you seen that Cocaine Bear, that film?
Do you know what? The first time I heard of it, as much as I sound like an old person here, was when you mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. Good?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Well, it was good and it was shit at the same time. Because it was like meant to be funny as well, and it was like, you know, scary movie-esque humour.
Yeah. But I like Scary Movie, but the last time I watched Scary Moogie, the last time I watched Scary Movie was I'd have been about. I was in school. I must have been in school.
Yeah, it was weird though, because I was sat in the cinema in Hartlepool, just listening to people going, I'll tell you what, mate, the bear wouldn't be acting like that if it was my gear. Do you know what I mean? Like, I sell the best of the best, mate.
So, Danny, what's the crack like? So, obviously, let's take it back to when you were younger. When you were young, you grew up in Hartlepool.
Yeah.
Have you always been funny?
I used to do impressions of my teachers.
Is that how it started?
So, yeah, when I started, it was, I think John Mutson was my first voice I ever did, which was on FIFA at the time. Sadly, we lost Mott. He was the best commentator ever. And, And then I just started, Beckham was one of the other ones I started doing, you know, and then it was just sort of, Steve Irwin, remember him?
Yeah, the Crocodile Hunter.
I used to love Steve Irwin.
I loved Steve Irwin, I was a massive...
The thing is, you just watch his videos on YouTube and you go, this is crazy. Like, a man just goes that close to these snakes and reptiles, and he got killed off a stingray.
I know, well, Steve Irwin was like, he was like probably one of my first, like, I wouldn't say I've ever had heroes, but probably one of my first heroes. You know, when I was a kid. I was lucky. I went on a holiday with my mum and dad when I was younger, and my brothers to Florida, and I ended up buying for anyone who's watching Animal Rights here, a stuffed crocodile head. But for anyone watching Animal Rights, the crocodiles were already injured. Apparently, so they cut the heads off. No, they'd already been attacked or something, or they were dying. So what they used to do to make money, we went to this farm. It wasn't like one where they were in captive. We went down I think it was the Everglades in Florida.
Oh,
It's the Everglades, isn't it, in Florida? I think there's only
I'll bring
three.
It up. Yeah, it's like
there's three rivers. There's
like
three
hover things, aren't they?
Yeah, there's 3 rivers in the world that only go that certain way or something, and the Everglades is one of them. And it was the first time, I must have been about 13, 14-year-old, and we went on this big like jet boat, and that was because of me being obsessed with Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, my mum and dad, I want to go and see crocodile,
and
I want to see alligators.
Excited, didn't
alligators.
He? Like, when he nearly got killed. Like, I remember watching him on Frank Skinner before, and he was like, mate, it's an articulated python. And it was like right round me. And I was about to die, mate. And I was down to my last breath, but my mate came over and he saved me. Woohoo, that was dangerous, mate. But he got like really excited about things like that. And I think, and I know this sounds awful, it's probably how we would have wanted to go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's sad, like I've seen a few videos of there's a bit of like when he it was a big thing when he died, wasn't it?
You've seen his kids now.
It was like a wild. His little son. Well, his little son. I remember Baby Bob. Yeah, he had it was Baby Bob at the time, and he had him with a fucking. There was a crocodile. Yes. And he was going like that with his kid, like near the crocodile. I was like, mate, what are you doing?
Meanwhile, I'm following my son around trying to stop him putting his fingers in plug sockets, and he's like, no, mate, you're all right. Just grab him by the snout, you're all right.
What you need to do, mate, get your kid and just put him by a croc. Woohoo! He'll be grand, mate. Woohoo! Danger, danger, danger. His catchphrases were great though, weren't they?
Yeah, class. And then later on, years later, Steve-O was doing it just on a fucking zip line. Was it a zip line or a wire?
Jackass.
With pieces of meat stuck out of his thong. You know why he's crawling over on a what was it, over a tight what a tightrope, wasn't it? He used to walk across a tightrope with meat hanging out of his arse.
Something like that.
Above a load of crocodiles and alligators.
That was off at that Jackass, wasn't it? Did you see when he went jellyfish bobbing?
I think I might
He just put his face... Is this it here? I think so.
There he is there.
Wow.
Every time he fell, he added a bit of meat.
To be honest, I'm surprised they didn't get his cock first, because he's got some package on him, like, hasn't he?
Whatever happened to Wee Man?
He never...
See them all standing around in thongs.
What, they've got thongs on and
Yeah,
they're
and then
rounded?
every time he falls, they attach a bit of meat to him.
That's right, you've got 30 seconds left. I think I can... Is there a hammer celebrity? Get me out of here. You're doing well. You're doing well.
Well, the fact there's a sign as well. No trespassing, no swimming, but
They
tightrope
wouldn't have
meat
this
walks
in
are
hammer
fine.
celeb, would they?
Oh my days.
That is
You've got to be a
crazy.
massive adrenaline junkie for that, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to have something wrong with you, I think.
That's not just like brave. That's he could die. He genuinely could get snapped.
I think he puts it in his ass, doesn't he? And then makes a crocodile take it out his ass.
There are people... I watch loads of videos on Facebook and that, and there's people who can... The sort of tame crocodiles. I seen one bloke, he was swimming with one.
That's how excited they're all getting.
Doesn't seem too bothered about the meat, does he? He just wants him. Oh my god.
Oh my God, I flinched then.
Yeah.
That was great. I remember, I love Jack. And then there was the other one, wasn't there? There was the one in the Welsh one.
Dirty Sanchez.
Dirty Sanchez.
Sanchez.
That was just insane,
And
wasn't
I
it?
feel like they were just trying to outdo each other.
Yeah, Dirty Sanchez was just like, oh, this week we'll chop his fingers off.
Yeah. And because it's in a Welsh accent as well, it just sounds rough as out, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Like,
we'll have a line of coke.
Yeah,
and then chop.
I mean, just chop his fucking fingers off, and then, yeah, it's just like, what you doing? You know?
Then when I was doing a gig in Wales, I think Poncho was in the hotel. We were there, he was trying to get pictures. I think it was Poncho, one of them off Dirty Sanchez, but I don't know whatever happened to them. I don't know if they're still going or if any of them are still well known or anything. Or
I think
Probably intensive care. Fucking putting themselves through.
the cemetery.
Yeah. Mental, isn't it?
So obviously back to, we've just totally diverted off, haven't we?
We're just talking about our childhood, mate. I love that though, because there was Jackass, there was Dirty Sanchez. Because we're the same age, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, obviously, the stuff
And
like-
Liam's 34. Liam's 34.
So the stuff that we had in our childhood, I think, were like much better.
Oh,
Did you-
100%. Well, that's what I think now. Obviously, I don't watch telly that much now. I don't think telly's big no more.
No,
though.
it's not. YouTube, Netflix. If I watch Netflix, but back in our day, it was like you knew some bloke up the road who could get you games for chipped. Couldn't
Yeah,
you?
chipped
Remember?
games.
Remember?
Chipped games, yeah.
WWF Warzone.
Yeah, do you remember what a game?
Stone Cold wins, and then he looks like a Scouser. He's doing that.
Yeah,
There was something wrong with. There was something wrong with the graphics. Wasn't there?
Well, our brother, I got it chipped, and our brother, we used to all, it was me and my two brothers, we'd share the PlayStation, but obviously they wanted to play on that as well because they like the wrestling. But obviously me who wanted the game, and when it came out, I used to go to my brothers. Look how good the graphics are. You know, like buzzing. It's like Stone Cold came in like he shit himself.
Yeah.
It didn't even have no music. It used to go, and he just walk in. And then SmackDown came out, didn't it? And they had music and they had a Titantron. You know, in the background now.
And you could do backstage fights.
Yeah.
And there was a WCW one. Wait, that was the first one, wasn't it? Where you could do backstage fights.
Yeah.
And it was just slow as out.
WCW versus NWO Revenge. That was on the N64.
There was Thunder and there was the Revenge. That was the one. Yeah.
Sting and Harlem.
I used to love Tomb Raider, mate.
Yeah.
I think that was most teenagers' first wanks, wasn't it?
I used to
It's over a cartoon.
8-bit wank.
I used to just jump over the butler. I'd just go in the house, you know, the butler.
Yeah,
and he'd be walking around, he'd hear, ooh. And do you remember? I didn't used to have a wank of that. And then I used to make him follow me because he'd follow you, the butler. And then, like, you just open the fridge, you know, that big fridge freezer.
Yeah.
He'd follow you in there, and then I'd leave him and just lock him in the fridge. And most of the time, the game would be that bitty and like glitchy. Like his hand had just come through the fridge, you know, and he'd just stick it in. Do you remember?
Shaking his fist.
I do. I used to love Tomb Raider where she sort of ran into a wall and done an orgasm.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
You just kept doing it,
wall and go, I don't know what was that noise she used to make. It was off it.
That was on purpose.
Well,
Wasn't
can I imagine if it was one in butter? Every time she ran into a wall, fucking hell.
I know, yeah.
Ayaz.
I want to get our kids round. It's your fault that, like, building that fucking wall in front of my face.
Ayaz, that's what it should have been. Ayaz, shouldn't it? Ayaz.
Yeah. Ayah. Remember that?
Ayah.
Ayah, what you doing? Ayah. And them used to say at the piss and go, ayah, back to you.
Yeah.
And that used to piss you off even more, didn't it?
So did you always want to be a comic, or do you think what were you like in school?
Well, originally I wanted to be a goalkeeper. I used to play for Hartlepool.
You played for Hartlepool, the proper Hartlepool team.
I got released just before YTS.
Yeah.
And I remember we were playing over in Canada, in Kitchener, Ontario. And I remember we were the only English team there.
Yeah.
And these girls were like rounders.
Yeah.
And because my mate told them that he was David Beckham's brother, and she believed him.
Yeah. Did he look like David Beckham?
He's a good-looking boy, like, but
he was black.
yeah, he was. Yeah. Now like him. She still believes him because we were English, you know. And I remember, like, she asked how we were getting. One of the girls asked how we were getting on. I was playing in goal, and I thought, well, we got beat our first 2 games because we weren't used to the climate because it was really hot.
Yeah.
Because in Canada they have specific seasons. They have, you know, the autumn, winter, summer split. They're all like exact. So it's freezing in the winter, red hot in the summer.
Yeah.
And we were just getting used to the climate. So I thought, well, I can't tell them we lost. So I said to this girl, I said, I said, well, the first match, I said, we won 1-0. I said, we were just getting used to the climate. I said, and then the second match, I said, we pissed it. I said, we won 3-1. I didn't know my manager was sat behind me in McDonald's. He went, what game have you been watching? Like, no, you better let them goals in, you fucking useless bastard. These girls just walked off. It was like, wah, wah, wah. Horrible.
So you could go. I didn't know you were a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I used to play in goal.
Did you wear the hat?
Yeah, well, because I don't look fit enough to play out. So,
But I said, did you wear the hat?
the hat. Oh yeah. I used to. Well, obviously in the summer. What goalkeepers used to wear a hat that sort of made it.
Didn't Peter Schmeichel used to wear one now and again? Didn't you?
Now and again.
Bruce Grobbelaar used to wear one, didn't he?
And I remember as well, Bart, remember Fabian Barthez?
Yeah.
I'm from Manchester, so I was a United fan.
Yeah. And he was the
Goalkeeper
only
left
keeper
back.
he had no sleeves, did he?
Yeah.
And then I started doing that for a bit. It sort of set a trend off.
Did you see? I played football. I was playing Sunday League. I wasn't ever playing for like a team like Borough or Hartlepool, but I played Sunday League left wing or centre forward. And it's mad, isn't it, how kids go through trends playing football. Like Thierry Henry wore his socks over his knees. So we all started wearing our socks over our knees, and that had a Cantona had his collar up. You know, you'd wear your collar up
Everyone
when you
had
played.
Eric Cantona collar, didn't they? Yeah,
Everyone used to
that.
say it was because of a tattoo. Was that true?
Well, he played for Leeds United before he came to us.
Did he have a tattoo on?
There was a rumour he had an LUFC tattoo on the back of his neck, but I don't know how true that was.
And then he just fly kicked some fucker in the audience. Remember that?
Yeah, quality.
That was that was Sheffield United, wasn't it?
Was it Crystal Palace, I thought. Crystal Palace away. Yeah.
His fan was winding him up. Enter the Dragondom, you know.
I remember Zidane headbutted that guy as well. Remember Zidane when he headbutted?
It was in the World Cup, wasn't it?
It was in the World Cup, yeah. Football was more fun then.
I think it was.
It was a bit more loud, wasn't there? A bit more like.
Especially when they got the likes of Gaza.
Yeah, Gaza, and then you had, and then you also had Paul Ince when he had his head bandaged up playing.
Yeah.
Remember when, was that against Italy when they were playing? I can't remember. Just blood all over him playing.
Well, you know, Gaza was. 'Cause I worked with John Barnes, and we've both worked with Gaza.
Yeah, he's great.
What a guy!
Yeah, lovely guy.
Just a grip. But he always jokes about, like, obviously he's had a drink problem.
Yeah.
But he, when I was talking to him about it, he was just like, I think his way of getting over it is joking. Like,
yeah, I think he's one of the. I think with Gaza is from me meeting him personally, and it'll be the same with you. Because he knew when I was talking to him. Obviously, the first time I met him, you said, "Oh, see if he'll know me, Danny." So when I mentioned you, he was like, "Oh, yeah." You can do his voice, obviously. He's like, I know Danny, great lad and all that.
He said, when I first met Gaza, he said it was, I tell you what, son, I thought you were fucking great on Britain's Got Talent. And I'm going, I'm meant to say to you, I love that goal you scored again.
Yeah.
Like when you knocked it over Colin Henry's head.
But this is what I was about to say. This is how much of a nice guy he is. So, worked with him the first time when I mentioned about knowing you. Got to know him. Worked with him again at Hardwick Hall. And then the third time, it was at like this boxing event. it was a Gaza event, obviously, but it was a guy who promotes boxing. A great lad. Anyway, so when I went up the green room, I was out the way, and there was like, I had all the stuff, like Gaza has all like all your food and that you want, and all your drinks that you want. But there was like a family sat on their own, and it was like Gaza's family, and they weren't ignoring me. They were nice. They were just like, hiya. And I went and sat on my own, just in the corner, because I was thinking, I'm going on stage in like half an hour.
Yeah.
I'll just sit on my own for a bit. I don't want to go and bother his family.
Did
when
you play on that royal thingy, that game?
Yeah.
What's it called again? Game?
I didn't download that yet. I only downloaded it a few weeks ago.
Oh, it's addictive, isn't it?
What's it called? The one.
Royal
It's like Candy Crush,
yeah.
isn't it? What's it called?
I should know. I've seen that many adverts.
Because he's got it as well. It's so addictive. Amy tells me off for playing on it all the time.
Oh yeah, our lasses as well. I know.
Do you know what it is? I don't know what it is. It's you get some satisfaction.
I'm into
out
his
of it.
Royal Match.
I'm into his
it's called.
museum
Out
now.
with just smashing bricks up. It's like that's what Candy
I know.
Crush is, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I'm into his museum now. But you know, when building little.
I've completed the kitchen.
So but this is what like type of guy Paul Gascoigne is when I was on my own, just sat on my own, he came in and obviously everyone started buzzing off Gaza, like not when he was in the room, in the back room, and when he came in, like he noticed me, he was like, James, and I was like, hey mate, all right, and he was like, great comedian, fantastic comedian, we're all gonna watch him, and we're all gonna sit on the balcony and watch him. And I was thinking, fucking hell, I hope he's going on so much about how good I am. I hope I'm gonna perform here. Anyway, I had a really good gig. Done like half an hour of just like ripping the crowd to bits.
Yeah.
And when I came off after, he was like, fucking excellent, son. Like, you know, he was like ruthless and all that, like having loads of crack with us. Anyway, he was going out for a smoke. So I said, I'll come and have a chat with you. Like, so we were both walking outside and everyone's hounding him, you know, like, oh, Gaza.
Yeah.
And every time someone came over to him and said, oh, you're the greatest footballer that's ever lived and all that, he'd go, thank you. And then he'd go, did you see the comedian there? He was great, wasn't he? And I thought, that's a sign of someone who's
selfless,
who's good. Do you know, like that good at what they do and like just a good person. And you can sort of see how many people have probably took advantage.
He doesn't have to take the attention on himself because he just knows how good he is and
that's probably why
he's been.
The press have took advantage of him over the years, haven't they? Like that's probably why. You got to be
terrible.
honest. You know
it's terrible. Like when he was saying to me about the drinking and that, like, and he was, and I'm going, wow, because he just still there was no boundaries with his humour. And that's the thing with comedy now, do you know what I mean? Like, your best way to get over things is by doing jokes about it. Like, he told me, like, he said, it was terrible, man. He said, I was drinking like 3 bottles of whiskey a day and I thought, this needs to stop. I said, what did you do? He said, I started drinking 3 bottles of gin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
but he's a naturally funny man.
Oh, he's really funny.
Very funny man.
It's a coping mechanism. But don't you find a lot, and that's not been like us and them, it's not been like that with about different parts of the country, but I think the North East sense of humour is very funny. I do.
I think the North East sense of humour is, I think anything goes, and I feel like it's the same in Scotland.
Yeah, that's what I think, Scotland as well.
Yeah.
I was saying this to Liam Farrelly last night, the Scottish comedian who was on last night. I was saying, and that's
he's funny. I've worked with him. Yeah,
and I'm not saying I'm not taking anything away from anyone like Southern, because there's some great Southern comics. We both know great Southern.
Yeah,
but I feel like North, like we all, maybe we've been. I don't know. Maybe we've. I don't know. I don't know what it would be. Would you say we've had more? Like,
I just feel like because there was a lot of working men's clubs. It's weird, right? So I done a gig. I turned up this club in Sheffield, right, and it looked rough as arseholes. And I thought, oof, I'm gonna have a battle with this lot tonight. They were brilliant, mate. And there was a queue a mile long for me book after. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, wow, like, and I just didn't even think that they would be the type to buy books. But that was my fault for being too
thought they couldn't
judgmental. But yeah, well, basically, yeah, I just thought, well, he's struggling to speak when he heckled me, so I don't think he'll be able to read. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But it was just like, yeah, and it just goes to show that we're just the salt of the earth people.
I've met a lot of Southern comics, and I definitely say we're a lot more friendly.
And also, as well, I think, like, back in the day, most comedians that were on the telly were all from the working men's clubs, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the stories you hear. Like I think now, because we've got the comedy club setting, we've got it easier than they had it back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but saying that, me and you have both done both sides of the comedy.
Yeah. No, I mean, like back in the day in the 70s in the working men's clubs, and there's a story someone told me. Do you know a comedian called Johnny Casson?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Right? So he said to his agent he would never do a club unless it had a back door. Because that's how ruthless the clubs were back in the day.
Yeah.
Just in case he died on his ass. So he's turned up at this club in Middlesbrough. You'll probably know which club it is, but I don't know exactly which one it is. Upstairs.
The Iron Ups.
It might have been that one.
Because apparently I've heard of stories of a few older comedians, that the Ironopolis used to be terrible for deafs.
It might have been this
and
one,
it said
right?
on the stage door when you walked in, it said something like, this is the way to hell or something on the, you know, as you
Really?
walked in, it was meant for any comedian.
Well, there you go. It's probably this club, right? So Johnny said, he rang the agent from a phone box, that's how long ago it was. He said, I'm not doing this gig. He went, Johnny, it'll be fine. I wouldn't have booked you there if I didn't think you were going to go well. I think it's Johnny Casson, don't quote me on it. Anyway, he done the gig, died on his ass. 10 minutes he lasted. Came off, he said to the singer, he went, I'm not going, because he was on with the singer. He said, I'm not going through their audience. He said, they fucking hated me. He went, well, what are you going to do? He went, I'm going to climb out this window, I'm going to go down that drain pipe. He says, you're having a laugh, aren't you? He said, it's a bit of a trek to get down there. He went, just give us a leg up, mate. So he's got a leg, he's hanging out the window, his ass is hanging out the window, right? A police car comes round and sees him. Half hanging out the window, right? So the policeman goes, excuse me, son, what you doing? He went, oh, listen, you got to trust me. I'm a comedian. I've just died on my ass. He went, yeah, very funny. Get in the car.
Yeah.
Drove him round to the front of the club. Walked him up to the stairs. He went, excuse me, can I have your attention, everyone? Is this bloke a comedian? They all just turned round and went, no.
Not from what we've seen.
That's just brutal, innit? You know.
It's vile, innit? You know, that moment of thinking, like, because comedy's so vulnerable, like that could happen to anyone
It
at
could.
any time.
It could.
And that's what and once you start getting too big for your boots, like, I don't know if it's the universe or something, it has a funny way of showing you.
It does.
And it's like you and you'll know this, and like definitely every comic knows this. You have some material that you think, oh yeah, that kills everywhere, and then you do it one night and you're like, what the fuck? How come that didn't get the reaction that?
I think doing comedy humbles you. I don't know a comedian that is a knobhead.
Oh no, loads.
Do you? I mean, good ones.
No, you're right.
Good comedians. Like, I don't know anyone that's a knobhead, because there's a chance that if you're Michael McIntyre, because if he might turn up to a corporate gig, which he probably doesn't anymore, he doesn't have to, but he could turn up to a private event, and if they're not there to see him, there's a chance he could die, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
even though I think he's one of the best ever.
I think, is that what you said? Would you say Michael's one of your favourite comics?
I just love how he delves into stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, you could take any situation. I don't know, what could you talk about? Like, I don't know.
To be fair, he's very, very, very good observational comedy.
Oh, God, he just delves into the finer details, doesn't he, you know? And his voice is just so funny. I mean, for example, I'm loving the fact that there's a can of Red Bull right there, along with a pair of boxing gloves. And this isn't even funny written down, but because it's Michael McIntyre saying it sounds hilarious. He's just got this, like, I don't know. It's just great how he does it, you know?
You should do that for a living, you. That's good.
And do you know what I love about him as well? He just looks like he's having a great time when he's on stage. Like, when you see him, you're just going, oh my God, you just love what you do, you know? And that's what eases you into just liking him even more.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite impressions that you do, Michael.
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard a lot of your impressions that you do, but Michael McIntyre was the first one that I seen of you.
Yeah.
And it was one of them ones, which you'll like this compliment. It was one of them ones, you know, when you sat on your phone next to your lass in bed, and I was watching the first ever time I seen you on video like that. I didn't have a hard on it, don't worry. I was watching and I do that. I was like, seen this, and then that one. And then when you're showing them and you're going, and then when you start doing the McIntyre voice, I was going, good evening.
Yeah.
You know, like, and she's like, oh yeah, really. That was the first time I seen you. It was on Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
But obviously, before we go to Britain's Got Talent, because we'll talk about your career now as well. Comedy. So you went to school. Your dream at first was probably be a goalkeeper. Was that your dream at first? And then did you leave school? Did you go to college?
And then I lost interest in my football, because I tell you why I stopped enjoying my football was because it was getting real.
Yeah,
it was getting like, because they were more or less saying, look, this is the time now where you've got to take this seriously, and you're going to get bollocked off another teammate if you're not pulling your weight, because you're playing for their wages as well.
Yeah.
You know. And it sort of hit me, and then I was like, oh. And then I got into martial arts. I've always enjoyed martial arts anyway. I started doing judo.
And
I love all the grappling arts, you know. And then I started watching the UFC and the Hoist Gracies and your Ken Shamrocks and all that. And then I started enjoying doing all that, you know. And funnily enough, I interviewed Ken Shamrock in lockdown.
did you?
Oh, it was amazing.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, I'll show you. It's a great interview.
Who was he used to Ken Shamrock, and who's the guy in the black trousers? Steve Blackwell.
Steve Blackman. That's what
Blackman,
in the WWE.
Yeah. Going back to wrestling.
Because they were like the two badasses. Used to always do the Lions Den matches, didn't they?
Well, when you're talking about backstage, you do like backstage hardcore.
And you should see
what
the
we're talking
shape.
about now.
You should see the shape Ken Shamrock's in. He's
Even now?
59 and he's in better shape than when I was 18. You know what I mean?
He's a machine though, isn't he? He was a proper fighter though as well, wasn't he? He wasn't
well, he started in pro wrestling and then he ended up going into Japan to wrestle. And then they started doing, they call them shoot matches. So he was just fighting doing that. And then he said he found out about this. He said, Scott, can't remember who it was, one of his students says, Ken, there's this fighting tournament going on. He said, and it's real. And he went, fuck off. He said, that's not real. And then he went and he said, that's when he thought, and that's when the UFC started.
Yeah, because at first UFC, wasn't it like sumo wrestlers versus boxers versus... Was that,
yeah.
That's how it all was
That's how
at
it all
first.
started. Now everyone knows how to do everything. Everyone knows how to strike. Everyone knows how to grapple. It must be so much more difficult now. I've got so much respect for them guys.
Oh, yeah, they're brilliant. I mean, like you say, it's... anyone who does any sort of fighting sport, I mean, even for myself, boxing years ago, the amount of effort that you have to put in just to be able to do.
It's just you, isn't it? There's no one else.
That's
there.
why I loved it. So that's why I got away from the football, and I loved doing because I wasn't massively I did play. I've played football all my life, Sunday league. I say all my life, all my school life. Yeah. But then as soon as I got to 15, I was like, oh no, I'm just going to stick with the boxing. Yeah. At least boxing. Exactly the same thing. At least if I don't miss a sitter in front of the goal, centre forward, the team aren't going to be on my back. You know, it's my own fault if someone jabs me face off. Do you know that's my own fault? I'm in the ring with them.
The coach can only teach you so much. It's down to you then, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. What were you saying?
Is it more like when you're doing something you enjoy doing, and then you start to grow a career out of it, you realise you stop you don't love it as much as you thought you did?
When I was going to go professional. When I went to Darlington, I always remember the coach saying to me, "You'll hate this now." This is what he said to me, because obviously I was trying to get a fight. My first fight was going to be on the Stuart Hall. My first professional fight was going to be on the Stuart Hall undercard in Leeds Arena. It was when he won the world title, the IBF world title, and I was going to fight some journeyman who'd had like hardly any wins and 100-odd fights, And he said, "Oh, can you sell so much tickets? And can you sell £3,000 worth of tickets? Can you? And then your journeyman will get this." And then I remember he must have been able to tell by my face, him saying all this stuff to me. And he was like, "This is where you'll realise that it's a business, and it's not like you're not going to an amateur tournament no more and boxing another lad who's had the same amount of fights as you, and you're both fighting each other to see who's the better boxer. It becomes a business. Can you sell tickets? Can you?" And that's when it's like, and you've got all that pressure as well. We were talking. We had Troy Williamson on the podcast not long ago. Who's a British champion and European champion, and he was saying about, you don't realise how much pressure there is, do you, sometimes? Like, they haven't just got you've got to train for your fight, but then you've got to sell tickets as well. It's hard, isn't it?
You've got to promote the fight as well. And do you know what, right? As much as Jake Paul and the Paul brothers take a load of shite off people, they're not the best fighters in the world, but they're now put bums on seats. They've took their audience and went, right, they're bringing it into this, which, to be fair, it would piss me off if I was a fighter.
Yeah, and I had this same conversation, funnily enough, with my girlfriend this morning about Jake Paul, and I said, but at the same time, you can't be bitter towards people like that, because Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fighting at the weekend, they're making more money than probably most 90% of boxers in the world. And like, would you really, if you were Tommy Fury or Jake Paul, listen to someone who's making no money in boxing and think, oh, well, I won't do it to disrespect? You think, I'm getting £5 million for
exactly.
that. Like, and I had the same conversation, funnily enough, I'd done that when I was talking to you the other day, and I said I was going to do the interview with Frank Bruno. When I was talking to Frank Bruno, I said to him, what do you think of all Jake Paul and
what
that?
Did he say?
And Bruno just laughed and said, well, I know I'd fight for $5 million. And he just said money talks. He said, and Mike Tyson says the same thing. All of them do. They all say the same thing, innit? Because you can slag them off as much as you want, but surely people who are slagging them off are a tiny, tiny little bit jealous of them having that.
Do you know what it reminds me of, that old Chubby Brown joke that he said? He said Lennox Lewis has been offered £15 million to fight Mike Tyson. He said he'd think about it. Fucking think. He said for £15 million I'd give Mike Tyson a blowjob in front of me fucking mum and dad. Money talks, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
Money does talk.
Larry Holmes, when he'd retired for a while, Don King rang him up. I think it was £10 million or something. And he said, Larry, they couldn't get anyone to fight Mike Tyson. And Don King rang him up and said, I think it was maybe 5 million or 10 million. But he rang him up and said, I've got you a fight if you want it. And Larry Holmes was like, I'm retired. I don't want it no more. And he said, £10 million to fight Mike Tyson. He went, when's the fight?
Yeah, you would.
Like, wouldn't you? It's like, it must be so hard to... And I think that's why so many fighters end up being depressed as well. Not just the money, but that adrenaline of because... Luckily for comedy, you don't really stop comedy until you die. Well, what do you reckon?
I think so. Well, look at Ken Dodd.
Yeah,
he went until he was 80. God knows how long. I
Until
think that's the thing with comedy. You can last longer when you do comedy than any other profession.
Yeah.
Really. Because even if you say, for example, you're a top surgeon or something like that, there's only so long you can do that for, because as soon as you are not switched on anymore... Whereas with comedy, I think once you get to a certain age, do you know a comedian called Jimmy Jones?
I know who you mean, yeah.
The old Cockney. He's 84. He still goes out gigging.
Stan Boardman was gigging the other night.
Stan Boardman, how old's he now?
Stan Boardman was gigging in Liverpool the other night, and he sold it out.
Do you know what, right? I seen him at there was a comedian's golf dinner. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Had me belly laughing. And I knew who he was, because obviously Stan Boardman, it's his name.
Yeah.
But he had me absolutely belly laughing. He was hilarious.
That's the thing, though. You appreciate comedy. That's what anyone who's good. You can like all types of comedy. That's what I like about you, and a lot of other comics on the circuit who do like that. There's a lot of comedians now.
Comedy snobbery goes on, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of comedians who tend to think like you can only do one certain type of comedy.
No,
and it's like
if it's funny, it's funny.
If you're selling tickets and you're making and I watched a podcast with Theo Von. I was telling you, and Louis C.K. the other day, and they were saying about how it's not so much television no more. You can, and funny enough, Liam's been talking to me about this. He's like, get your material on YouTube now. You've got this big platform. Everyone's bothered about getting on telly. Shane Gillis is saying to Louis C.K., I wish I could get on the telly and that. And Louis C.K. is like, what you're on about?
I've seen how many views you've got.
Yeah.
We've just been saying we're their target audience. And we're not watching it on telly. We're watching it on YouTube. So go follow where your audience is. Well, stick it on there. They'll watch it. And then
all my favourite comedians from America now that are current. I'm not on about your Richard Pryors and your Eddie Murphys years ago. I'm on about your current comedians now. Your Theo Vons, your Bert Kreischer, your Tom Segura's. I discovered them. Apart from Tom Segura, I discovered on Netflix. But your Bert Kreischer and all them, I discovered, and I've just been to see him live. I discovered them on YouTube. That's how I found out, and I discovered them on YouTube because I found them on Facebook first or TikTok.
And isn't that crazy? Because we don't watch American telly, unless it's on Netflix.
And then I'm like, because I've seen them on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. I'm like, I wonder if they've got a special on Netflix. I'll watch it on there, and that's how you and I could not tell you. And this is no disrespect to anyone who's doing it, because if Live at the Apollo rang you or they rang me, we'd go and do it. 100% you would. But I genuinely could maybe name 3 comics who I know have been on Live at the Apollo lately. But years ago, when you had your Kevin Bridges, your John Bishop, your Sarah Millican,
Jack D started it off, didn't he?
Yeah, it was massive. I mean, even in Kevin Bridges' book. I mean, me and Liam were talking about this last night, Liam Farrelly, because he's just done Live at the Apollo. And I was a bit excited by it, just talking to him. I said, what was it like? And he was like, yeah, it was good. He was nice about it. And a bit of me, it's not narcissism, a bit of me just says, does it not annoy you a little bit like that? Years ago when Kevin Bridges and Kevin Bridges done Live at the Apollo, he says about it in his book that as soon as he had done it, he became that comedian from the telly.
Back in the day, you do Michael McIntyre's Comedy Roadshow.
Yeah.
You were selling out theatres.
That was McIntyre's Comedy Roadshow, wasn't it?
Immediately.
That was what he done.
Whereas you can do Live at the Apollo now, you've still got to put your stuff out there on social media because you're competing with so many other things.
Yeah.
In order to
definitely
get people to come and see you.
100%. I mean, so you left school. Did you go to college?
Yeah, failed miserably at college.
Did you do well? Go back to school. Did you do well in school? Did you GCSEs?
All right. I think I got 2 Bs, 5 Cs, a D, and an F or something like that.
And then just college. What did you want to do?
I went to college. I didn't know what I was wanting to do, so I done law, media studies, PE. Only because I just thought, well, I have to pick 3 lessons, and I thought I'll just go and play footy.
Do you know what I picked for my GCSEs?
Well,
Drama, PE, and music.
did you?
Just so I could fuck about for the whole.
Well, that's the thing. I think
in school.
this is what kids they don't do in schools. They don't sort of look at an individual and go, they're suited for this.
So I must have been a little bit clever in my head, though. I think I get to do with them. Because I remember every time I used to talk to my mates, I'd be like, "Oh, I've got double maths, science, and so on sort of day." And I'd be like, "Oh, I've got music, drama, and PE, and then food technology."
Yeah. Oh, well, I picked food technology, right? Yeah. And me and my best mate, actually, Mickey Harrison. Me and him were the only 2 lads in the class.
Yeah.
And the rest was
Class
just full of
food
girls. Tech. And there was this girl I remember I used to fancy like mad. And Mickey used to always, go and ask Lauren for us. Go and ask Lauren. And he used to ask Lauren every week. And every week she used to say no.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's the last lesson. She's got to say yes this time. It's like, Dan, I've asked her fucking 42 times. You know what I mean?
All we done is me and Ross, my mate Ross, we used to just bake rock buns every single. Like, even when she was like, well, this week we're going to be doing a salad, we'd just like bring the ingredients in for rock buns. Like every single time. She'd be like, we can't make rock buns. Yeah, we can. Do you know that? We just like Ainsley Harriet in the corner, making our rock buns.
Yeah. We made if like me and me mate Mickey had to make something, if they said make a cake, we would make a cake. Whereas all the girls, they'd bring all the like icing on and sweets and on theirs, and then when like they put them all out and everyone's is on show.
Yeah.
Me and Mickey just
I done a right dick thing though, mate.
Yeah, I was shit.
I was never ever a nasty person. I've never been a nasty person. It's not my personality. But Ross dared me, I remember in school. But it was only because there was this lass, I can't remember her name, and she was going on about a cake, like, oh mate, and she's like a bit of a
no.
I remember, and she'd walked out and she'd left it on display, and I just fingered it. You know, like that. So when she came back, to show and I remember feeling dead bad for it because she started crying, and I was devastated. In my head,
I can just see her now crying, going, "Who's fingered me cake?"
And Ross, me mate Ross was crying, laughing, but I was gutted inside. Even because I'd done it. It was me, but he thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Because it's like what
it was
you
just
do is you go, they need knocking down a peg or two, and then you realise you've gone a bit too far, and they get upset, and you go, "Oh shit, I feel awful now." It's like when you were a kid and your mate fell over.
Yeah.
And you're asking him if he's all right, but you can't because you're laughing.
Yeah.
And he's crying.
Yeah.
And you're going, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but the way he fell was fucking hilarious.
Well, there's loads of things like that happen, isn't there? Like when you laugh at someone who's like I think that's just human nature to laugh.
School was great though, because we were talking about the PS1 and all that, and I remember when Mortal Kombat Fest came out.
That's class.
I should love Mortal Kombat.
Get over here.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. One of the teachers in our school where I went to Rift House sent a letter on to all the parents saying we want this game banned. We don't want them because they'll copy off it in school. Like as if I was going to turn up the next day and just get hold of some kid and go, "Get over here!" Do you know what I mean?
Freeze someone.
And then uppercut him through a roof. You know what I mean? Yeah, whoopsie, like some kid.
Did you play Mortal Kombat?
I didn't. I played Street Fighter quite a bit.
Street Fighter was class as well.
Hadouken!
Can you remember Street Fighter when they used to on the bonus games where you used to have to smash a car up?
Yeah,
and you'd have
class,
you'd have E Honda up just doing that, or Blanca, and just doing his electric.
Yeah.
You're tapping the buttons like that as fast as you can.
I know. You had blisters on your hands, didn't you?
Yeah. That was class. They should just bring back them type of games, like
track and field.
Yeah.
I've got Street Fighter remastered, I think, for the PS4.
Nothing better than the first one, though, is it? The proper one.
No, it's not like the original.
It's a similar game, it's just better graphics.
Remember
Stevie
Sonic?
that wanted to play it, to be fair.
Put the opening scene would be cancelled now on Street Fighter. Can you remember? Can you remember the opening scene?
No.
Before the start mode, put opening scene Street Fighter. Can you remember it? No, I can't. It's just a white guy and a black guy fighting each other, and the white guy just knocks him clean out.
Oh yeah. And then it goes up, doesn't it? And goes Street Fighter. Yeah, I remember that.
Look, Street Fighter. Is that it there? There, intro, arcade there. That's it, yep, that's the one.
Yeah, because it was in the arcades as well. And then it goes up to the skyscraper.
Tommy Robinson, Street Fighter.
Yeah. as if he didn't see that punch coming either. Do you know what I mean?
I fancy a game now.
I do and all.
How good's the music?
Yeah. Yeah, and you went all around different countries in the
Zangief,
world.
remember Zangief? Guile. Sonic
Zangief,
Boom.
he was the wrestler, wasn't he?
Yeah, guy used to do Sonic Boom.
This was basically UFC before its time, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that guy there's Paddy Pimlet.
Have you seen? Yeah, he is, yeah. Lieutenant Guile. Well, do you know what? Did you see the film? Street Fighter film?
Yeah. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
It was dog shit, wasn't it?
But I loved it, and it was dog shit. But I've watched it.
I know,
loads.
it was, like, I watched it loads of times because Van Damme was in it.
Yeah.
And everyone loved Van Damme.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the guy of the Addams Family, M. Bison, at the end?
And Bison. Yeah, he was the big boss, wasn't he? And
Can you turn that off, Liam?
yeah,
Sorry, I got really
Just
because I remember, because I remember that film, and I love watching. Do you know what I love watching on YouTube? Is, you know, like things you didn't know about what went on behind the scenes of this film, or you know what I mean, all them type of films. Is it like WatchMojo.com or something like that?
things you didn't know what went behind the scenes, top of the pops.
Yeah, top of the hobby, yeah. Things be fucking 3 hours long. Do you know what, right? I watched a documentary on you know, the Louis Theroux one?
Yeah, it's brutal,
And he
isn't
was
it?
talking about, and there was this woman delivered some glasses to Jimmy Savile. And it was one of them things where you go, I shouldn't be laughing at this.
But if I don't, I'll cry.
And the woman was being really serious when she was telling the story. And she said, I delivered some glasses to Mr. Savile, and he had his penis out, hanging out the side. And when I looked down, he just looked at me and said, how's about that then? Like,
Okay, now.
you shouldn't.
It's not Louis C.K., is it?
You shouldn't laugh. You know, you shouldn't laugh.
How's about that then?
But it's how she said it, because she was saying it like, you know, like reporting a crime.
Did you hear the prank that woman got pranked about the blindfold of the cow? With when she got pranked on the station. Have you not heard it? Have you not heard it? Put into YouTube. And she goes, and I was vulnerable to a horrible prank earlier on. Do you know? Go put YouTube.
You're being deadly serious.
Put Jimmy Savile prank. Put Jimmy Savile prank and some. It was when he'd first been exposed as a sex offender. Prank call. There you go. The representative repeats Savile joke. Yeah. Listen to this.
Coming in here this morning, an alternative view on the Jimmy Savile story. This texter says, I wish everyone would stop criticising Jimmy Savile. He was a nice man. When I was 8, he fixed it for me to look at cars blindfolded.
Listen.
Unfortunately, earlier in the programme, I was the victim of a prank text about Jimmy Savile.
Apologies. How the fuck do you announce that on the news? Like, even reading it, they must just. I mean, they must be that busy.
You've
They must
got to be
just
vetted. It's got to be vetted before it goes out.
Surely, like
It's
you know,
like, that's why they said.
Imagine me. You're a news reporter, and you're reading through the news report news, and you would look at it and you'd say, "I'm not reading that." I was. Jimmy, I wish everyone would get off, because the first thing you'd be like, alarm bells would be like, I wish everyone would get off Jimmy Savile's back. You know, like he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And you think that's a bit weird, you know. And then he goes, he fixed it for me to milk a cow blindfolded. like that's just so like oh, it's insane, isn't it?
It's mad, like when you listen to stories and you're thinking, is that true, or is it like a joke? A mate of mine, right? Well, he's not a mate of mine. He's just someone I see in the pub all the time in our in my local pub. And he said he was working in Manchester, and this girl went up to them and just got her tits out.
Yeah.
She just got her tits out and went, and they were just having their lunch. And like, they were like, what the fuck? And then she put her tits away and she went, right, you've all seen my tits, so I want a pound off all of you.
Yeah.
So I said,
was it Liam Gallagher?
I said to him, she want a pound off all of you. I said, what did you do? He went, the next day I brought a £5. But isn't that like the shittest OnlyFans you've ever seen in your life?
Yeah.
Like, live. Why would someone just go up to you and say... So it makes you question whether people are lying or stuff, but then you don't care if it makes you laugh. Because I do it all the time. I'll sit there, right? Most of the stuff... You know, like most of the stuff you talk about on stage, is it has it happened to you? Or do you make, like... Would you say you make 80% of it up?
I've heard Danny Sloss talk about this. He said about like how comedy can be, and I believe in this and what he says here. Comedy can be like truth, over the top the truth, and just total bullshit, or someone else's story. So like he even says that sometimes, like for instance, if you weren't a comedian and you tell me a funny story, I think I might take that and adapt it to my own. Do you know, it's something funny that someone said. But most of the stuff, my comedy is truths, and it's some really over exaggerated truths, but then obviously a load of it's daft as well. So for example, I do that Geordie joke.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not true. My missus wasn't behind when I do like, because obviously a lot of people know that joke now. And when I go like a girl come over and said, "Oh, you a Geordie?" But in the past when I've been working away, blokes and women have said, "Oh, you're from Newcastle." That always happens to me. So I thought I'll turn that into a joke.
Yeah.
You know, but then I didn't go talking to someone or.
I do stuff like, if someone tells me stuff, because Amy got me for Christmas, because I've never done any comedy courses or out like that. I don't think you have either, have you?
No.
Because you see people on the circuit who say, I've been to this comedy course, this, that and the other. And I thought, well, if I'm going to listen to anyone tell me how to be funny, it'll be Billy Connolly. And I watched it, and it was good. A lot of it was sort of stuff that's already happened to me and I've experienced on stage. And one thing he said, which I just thought was so bang on, he says, what you need to remember is people are funny. He said, you get comedians, but people are funnier than comedians. You know, you'll go to a pub and there's always a guy there. He'll make you laugh. Characters. And that's so true, because you just think like...
That's as good as the McIntyre like that, isn't it?
Oh, cheers, man. Thank you.
It's great. I've heard it, but I just get fascinated and want to listen to him talk like Billy for the rest of the
time. Because he's been serious at this point, and I just thought that is so true. And I think that's an example of that lad who I was telling you about when he said he was working in Manchester.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Yeah, of course.
You know, the next day I brought a fiver. But then I think that's him being naturally witty as well, because that's something a comedian would come out with, isn't it? Like, to be that sharp and say,
yeah, there's loads
the
of
next day I brought a fiver, you know?
Funniest people I've ever met are definitely people on site, working, plastering. We had Angry Bob and Cal on the... We can say Angry Bob, just Bob, on the podcast the other day. He gets called Angry Bob. Obviously, a lot of people will know who he is. And how funny was he? Just naturally. Naturally, just a funny bloke.
Just not even trying.
Yeah, just and so much.
Well, Ricky Gervais hit the nail on the head, didn't he, when he had Carl Pilkington on everything?
Yeah. Of course he did.
I was at the podcast before podcast. He said that, didn't he? I used to be the only person who had a podcast, and now I'm the only person who doesn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
He was like the first one we proper all listened to, really.
What's he doing now, Carl Pilkington? He probably doesn't have to work, does he?
He was on an advert I heard on the radio yesterday. Some bank have got him on, so he's picking up a few little gigs here and there, I guess. But I haven't seen a lot from a while.
I'd love to see him do stand-up.
Yeah, he's just naturally funny as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just really naturally funny. There's loads of people, I've met loads and loads of people, especially like some of the crack I used to have when I was plastering on site with some of the lads. There's a guy, Tyler Scotty, who's still good mates of mine, and he's funny as. Like, he's a pick, and they're a pick-me-up, them type of people. They'll come into a room. I mean, you're a pick-me-up, I'm a pick-me-up, I think, when I walk into a room, people's moods, because like, I have a laugh with people all the time, and so there's a lot of...
Because I think as well, sometimes when you're a comedian, you're going on stage and you're making people laugh, and then you're going, well, what do we get out of this here? We need to laugh as well. Where are we going to get out of it?
I think I get out of it so for example, when I was doing Sheffield the other night, I added to this joke, and it was a stupid little ad-lib that I added to the joke, and it got a huge laugh, and it made me laugh because everyone was laughing at what I just said.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what you get out of it. I think that's what you...
Yeah, you do. You get a buzz. I know you get a massive buzz.
Especially after you've composed and you've wrote something yourself, and you think like, I wrote, because everything. Me and you don't steal jokes. We don't like a lot of comics don't. It's like a big no. I write all my own material. So do you. And it's like when you've wrote something that gets an applause break and a laugh. It's like in your head you're like, I wrote that.
It's so rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like I actually sat down and I docked that together, and it's or when you turn a joke that was average to really good, that's like, I think that's really rewarding. You know, when you're like, I don't know where this joke's going, but every time I say it, it's a bit flat, it gets a bit of a laugh, but it doesn't get, and then 6 months down the line you do the joke again, but you've added little bits to it and it gets a huge laugh. That's like I've done that with a couple of routines actually, because originally the routine's meant to be a couple of minutes long, and it ends up becoming 5 minutes long because you're putting the little fillers in there. Because you're talking about it, and then you go, oh, I could put this in, or you're just off on one sometimes, aren't you? Your brain, it's the way your brain works. It's really weird. So you went to college. So your college till 18, was that? 18,
I don't think even I lasted that long, mate.
Yeah. So you didn't
I
do uni or
dropped
how old were you when you started comedy?
And then I went. What did I do? And then 18-year-old, I was working in JJB.
Yeah,
And
JJB,
then-
that's gone, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Sheesh. Forgot about
It's not
JJB.
out anymore, JJB.
It was everything, wasn't it?
Did,
Dixon.
did what's his face buy it off him then? Did he like? Who am I
It
thinking?
was
of?
JJB gyms for a bit, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah.
JJB.
Wigan used to have the JJB arena or stadium. whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like JD and just Sports Direct now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's because there was Dixon Sport before as well.
Yeah.
Dixon,
Yeah, there
I had
was.
work experience there, Dixon Sport. But so you worked JJB.
JJB Sport, I worked in martial arts shop.
Yep.
And then I done like a summer season for Kudos.
All right,
And
what's
it was
that?
called Clown Town, this show.
Yeah.
And I just went on, done a couple of impressions, and they give us this sketch to do. And I just done that, told a couple of
So-
jokes.
When did you realise you were good at impressions? Like, when did
Oh, so yeah, I missed a bit out. I done a school talent show when I was 16
you... Right.
because my French teacher talked me into doing it. And I got up and I done some impressions.
Who did you do?
And so I done me Steve Irwin, John Motson, Beckham.
You say you did a couple of teachers' impressions as well.
And I think I nicked a couple of jokes off Chubby Brown because I was like, you know.
Yeah. And it's got banned from school.
And that's how I started, yeah. But they were the clean ones.
Yeah.
Don't think I've heard those ones.
And then after that I done like a couple of clubs, but they were like, you know, charity dues where you get
Was this you just
free
learn?
and easy night, you get the old people getting up singing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
was
you had
it,
to get
it was
up
just learn, like, sort of not even like a comedy night, just like a bit of...
No, it was just in a working men's clubs, you know.
Yeah, but it's good though, isn't it? That's how you get your confidence, isn't it? And get on the stage. And then, but what made you, did you think then? Did you get a buzz when you done the school? Was that when the
Oh
first...
yeah, that was just like, that was amazing.
Was that, so obviously you perform, so you were a born performer in that way. So when you done that, were you thinking then, oh, I want to do this? So was it in the back of your mind?
Yeah,
or
I
was
mean,
it
I've always got up and sang on the karaoke because when I sing, I do like vocal impressions.
Yeah,
Like, I'll
yeah.
get up and I'll do a Neil Diamond or a Ronan Keaton, or do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
sort of what made me go,
Life is a roller.
yeah. Oh, that's very good.
I reckon I'm like 60% okay at impressions.
Yeah,
I want to be 100% okay at impressions.
Fuck off.
I thought I was mint until I came in, and then every impression I've done on the show, you reckon sounds like Chief Wiggum.
Do your Bill Cosby one.
Because that is Chief Wiggum.
Just sounds like Chief Wiggum, you know.
Oh, I've seen that episode. Yeah.
It wasn't my best. And I've been ribbed on it every episode.
You talk about all the stars on this podcast, don't you? Bill Cosby, Jimmy Savile. There's a fucking a pattern emerging here.
Yeah.
Our viewers are just nonsense.
Basically, yeah. Non-sympathisers.
Yeah. It could be a podcast. I reckon nonsense could be like the show.
Well, the
Talking
way the
nonsense.
world's going, well, I won't go into that, but some people are trying to normalise it now, and that's fucking...
Nah.
Anything you say that you don't want in, I can cut. Don't
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, well, that's all right then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If there's anything that you don't want in, like, we'll cut. There's a few things I've said, I think, already.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So you decided, like, all right, okay, I'm good at impressions. So when you were doing your comedy, when you were at this club, what was it called again? When you were doing these like ones where the singers were on,
Oh, and I was on... Oh, like a free and easy night.
like a free and easy night. Were you doing impressions at them, or were you just doing comedy?
Yeah, I was telling gags really back then.
But with impressions, or
Yeah, I was doing a couple of impressions. I'd done me Billy Connolly,
Yeah.
you know.
And was
then-
that as good as it is now, or have you developed that? Was it like, because obviously your voice must break as well, not break because you've already broke as you got older, but does your voice change, or do you have to train it to sort of,
Well, some people's voices change as they're getting older as well.
do you ever panic about that, or?
Sometimes you just got to take them out.
Yeah.
Because you just go, they're too low, or that, you know, they can't. Or some people, you just go, well, I try not to do dead people if I can help it.
All right.
Like people say to me, go, oh, you know, because I just feel like it's gone. It's not. It's sort of.
It's not relevant no more.
It's not relevant anymore.
Does when so obviously you do the impression, do you sort of, so say for example you're watching the telly and you see a famous, like say let's give an example, we've got I'm a Celebrity on. I mean, I know we don't watch the telly much no more, but you say that's popular at that time,
Yeah.
and there's someone everyone's going on about constant. Oh, for example, let's say someone like Andrew Tate. Everyone's going on about Andrew Tate at the moment,
Yeah.
all over the news, or Jake Paul, or someone like that. Is that something that you'll do? You'll see them and you'll think, as soon as you hear them, do you think I could do that impression, or do you practice it? Do you
Well,
think?
sometimes when you have a stab at Andrew Tate, he's
Yeah.
somebody who literally speaks really fast and so intelligent to the point where I'm thinking I'm not that intelligent to talk like him, and I've got to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But sometimes when I listen to Andrew Tate, I go, no, I can't, and for all of a sudden I'm now turning into Ben Shapiro because he speaks really fast too. So Yeah, it's weird. Some of them can sort of interlink.
Yeah, but do you when you hear that, like when you hear them talking, do you already know that you'll be able to do it? Does your mind already know that?
Well, one of my favorite people I like to do that's in my range is Jordan Peterson, because I just I like the way he talks, and I like the way he is. He just elaborates on everything, and nobody can ever tie him in a knot, especially when it's a feminist. Like he's just so cool and calm, isn't he? And he just sort of looks up.
I'm like that proud kid. I'm like that. Every time he does an impression, I look at Liam and go, "Told you it was
Just
good."
see him in the corner like.
Told you it was good.
Although to be fair, your Tyson Fury impression was really
You
good.
do a very good Tyson Fury, actually.
I know. I don't want to.
You do better than I do it.
I have to put you on the spot now.
I don't want to do it too much in case Tyson Fury wants to fucking take my head off. If I keep doing it. But like I said, no, you're the main man for impressions. I mean, you must get that because obviously as a comedian, we all get that. Like, oh, have you heard this joke? And they tell a joke. You must get a lot of people coming up to you doing impressions and trying themselves. Do you?
I always get the X Factor voice. It's time to face, and they come up to us and do that, Yeah, and I go, well done, mate.
Yeah, because there's certain voices, isn't there, that are easier for a lot of people to do.
Yeah.
Not everyone. I mean, but there's certain
because this really standy out voices like the guy from Love Island, who I don't really watch, but my wife does, and all I can hear is Ian Sterling coming from the other room, and I'm like trying to play on my Xbox, mate. Shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean?
So when was the first time you thought? When was your first like proper gig? If you get what I mean, like your first. I don't mean your talent show. 'Cause you don't
paid gig.
No, not your paid gig. Your first ever time. I was like
16-year-old at done school talent show.
So you done the school talent. I know that was a proper gig. I know that. And that wasn't me being like taking that away from you. But
yeah.
I mean like a gig like where, like you rang a venue up or something instead of them asking you rang like a comedy club or something like that, and you rent. When can I come and do a bit, or can I do a 10-minute spot? Was there anything like that, or did you start? Or did you start straight away doing like?
When I started on the circuit, really the comedy circuit, because I was doing holiday parks and stuff like that. So in my act, I would do like my impressions, but then I would do a couple of vocal impressions as well, singing impressions.
So did you do singing as well?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I've known you all this time, and I didn't know you were a singer.
Yeah, I've done a couple of singing impressions, but then I occasionally do if I'll do an oldie park now.
Yeah,
because you've got kids running around,
Yeah, it's easier, isn't it? Just to have a bit of a sing and a bit of fun. Do you like singing?
But I don't mind it. Yeah, like I like singing all the older songs, mate. Like it's weird because like I was in the house the other day. And I was like, hey, Google, play Matt Monro.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Matt Monro while I was washing the pots. And I'm like, I'm just feeling, I'm either getting old or I've got good taste. Because with me, I love music where people have a really good voice.
Have you heard him, Luke Combs?
Luke?
I always put him on my stories, don't I?
Do
country
ya?
singer. Yeah, he's brilliant. I just tried to get his tickets again today. He's put some more in recently.
What is he? Country?
Oh, he's class. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
I love that type of voice.
He's got probably the best country voice out there, I think, now.
Who's that? What's that country song? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. They've all got this sort of like... I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm going to play you some songs. It's like that type of,
They all mention a bar stool or drinking whiskey or it's all that kind of.
We don't need to put Luke Combs on, though.
I tend to just bring up whatever you're talking about in case you want to watch it. But if you don't,
they've lost the wife, they've lost the horse. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're now drinking in a bar.
Yeah. To be fair, Luke, he put a status on the other day, which I thought was really. He done he's brought a new song out on his new album that comes out at the end of this month. Because every single one of his songs will go to #1 in America. He's massive.
Are they?
Mm-hmm. Oh well, he's. Corinne and me tried. I went to see him last year at Glasgow Arena, and I managed to see him because he was headlining country to country, and I don't think I'll ever get tickets from him again unless I go to America because we tried to get him this time for London, the O2. He's put a few nights on there, couldn't get them, and then there was a pre-sale today at 10 o'clock. Corinne set it up at 10 to 10. And as soon as she clicked in, it was 52,000 people in front of you.
Isn't that mad? What does that tell you about a niche market? Because I've never even heard of him, and he's massive.
Yeah, he's huge.
And trying to get tickets for his shows like Rock and All shit. Do you know what I mean?
But I'm lucky that I got to see him last year. But like, one thing he's just done, he's brought a new. But everyone loves him at the moment. He's like, because he's old school as well. He's still like going hunting. He's not bothered about he's going
like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he's like, you know what I mean. He's just a. And he's got a bit of crack about him. He's been in a few podcasts with comedians and that. And he's got good sense of humour, and he's just a normal bloke. He's from North Carolina, and he's just got like he's got that old school.
I feel like
approachable.
them parts of America, there's more realism goes on. You know what I mean? Whereas you get the sort of like, I like to call them the self-righteous people. They tend to live in LA and London, don't they? Those type of people.
Theo Von was talking about this on to Louis C.K. and he was saying there's certain jokes that he doesn't want to try in LA. And I thought, I wonder if that's similar to like London round here. You know,
it's the same in London, yeah.
You know,
well, it depends where you go to in London. I think if you do like the Backyard,
yeah, it's a good club.
That's a very open-minded club, you know.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, I'm doing Covent Garden, and I'm sort of not looking forward to. I am, because they're always great crowd.
Yeah, they're always great. You just have to
But
adapt
then I
your
just feel
materials.
like
Different
you shouldn't
approach.
have to walk on stage and worry about like what you shouldn't have to walk on eggshells.
Yeah.
When you walk on stage, just in case you upset anyone. And you know the stuff I do, it's not even controversial.
Yeah, well, none of us do any controversial stuff, really. We've just worked with people who are meant to be controversial now and again.
And then you watch them and you go, well, actually, that's not. How was that controversial?
I know, I've seen it. Like, that's what I think all the time when I see stuff. And then there's some of the comedians on the alternative circuit who are miles more controversial. Do you know
what's mad, right? Some of these comics who say that's controversial, I just want to take them to fucking Benidorm.
I know.
And go, watch this bloke walk on and go, there's a black fella. Do you know what I mean?
Going in line.
That's controversial.
Yeah.
Do you know, I don't know whether I told you this story, because we talk on the phone all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
My mate went on holiday to Benidorm, and he was with
Liam,
all the...
You've told me, but
I've told you the story, right?
Tell Liam.
So he went on holiday to Benidorm, and there was this... They were all like lawyers, doctors... Because my mate, he's a comedian, but he works in mental health. I won't mention his name because I don't... What he found this story funny.
I can bleep stuff as well.
This comic's going on, and he's literally doing, you know, there's these two Pakistanis, there's these two, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
His friend was appalled. She went, I'm going to have a word with him. He went, well, it's up to you, but he probably won't give a shit. Because they don't out there.
Yeah,
do you know what I
course.
mean? So she went up to him, she went, excuse me. She went, you are a vile man. You are racist, you are sexist, you are homophobic, you are this, you are that. And he just waited till she finished, and he just went, no chance of a blowjob then.
Oh, Christ. Again, shouldn't laugh, but definitely.
But the thing is, though,
She knows now just not to even address it to him. But he probably's got no malice in his heart. He's just doing jokes.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, you see a lion roaming about in a cage, right, bullying another lion.
You're gonna leave them to it, aren't you?
You just leave it, don't you?
Fuck if I'm getting involved in that.
You know, and it's the same as if you go somewhere. If I genuinely went somewhere, for example, if I went to a music, well, there you go. How many times have you been in a nightclub when you're younger and you've went in and you went, oh, the music's shit in here, and you just leave? You don't go up to the DJ and say,
excuse me, mate. Oh God, I remember I was working on the North Sea ferries as ents manager for a bit, and people used to come up and go, excuse me, mate, put something decent on. I'm like, well, what's decent to me might not be decent to you, and what might be decent to you might not be decent to them people over there who are already dancing.
yeah.
And you just think...
It's not, it's if and this is what I was listening to with Louis C.K., the Louis C.K. feel. I know I keep going back to this podcast because I've just listened to it, watched it lately, when I keep saying I'll send you. And Louis C.K. said something really good to Theo Von. He said, when you're making it in comedy, he said, when you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, he said, they're your best shows. He said, the reason is because you just make, he said, so say you're doing like 2,000 seaters, 3,000 seaters when you've made a name for yourself. He said, what's happened there is people have found out about you and like they tell their friends who they know will like you.
Right.
So it's like me talking to you about Luke Combs when I first said, oh, I know you like this music because you like country music, you like this, but I'm not going to go and say that to someone who just loves house music. I'm not going to say, oh, you like Luke. Like, I know they're not going to
Go up to me in the gig, but hi, Luke. Sorry,
they're not good.
So far, so good, mate. But would you mind?
So what Louis C.K. said, he said, so at that stage in his life, when he was like not worldwide known, but he was well known, he said the audiences were unbelievable, so funny. He said, but then you become like superstardom and you become where you can sell Wembley out everywhere. And what happens is everyone knows your name and they've heard of you, so they just tag along and think, oh, well, we'll go and see him. I've seen him on the telly.
Yeah.
But they don't know any research on your comedy. So when they sit, he said, and he's actually been doing gigs, he said, in massive arenas, and he's seen people get up and walk out. He said, because they don't know he's going to... It's like, for example, Frankie Boyle, for example. You go to Frankie Boyle because you want him to be ruthless. You want him to say something. And you want... And like, that's what you are going to.
Exactly.
And 9 times out of 10, the same people... Not necessarily. I'm very open-minded with comedy. I like every comic. Not every comic, but I don't think there's a bad comic because I think anyone who's doing good in comedy is doing something right. Like, I think like if they're selling arenas out, they're doing something right.
Of course they are.
And they're hitting to a niche audience that they're going for. But I know, for example, people in my family wouldn't go and watch Frankie Boyle, but I would. My dad would.
Yeah.
My mum would. My mum would
So
find
you
them
bring
funny.
the people with you, would enjoy it.
But I know one of my aunties wouldn't go and watch Frankie Boyle. I know like one of them definitely wouldn't, but I know she'd still go and watch Michael McIntyre.
Yeah.
You know, like and
I
it's,
stayed at my auntie's the other night 'cause she lives in Ashby, and I'd done a gig up the road at Sutton Coldfield Town Hall, and I stayed at her and we had a couple of wines, and I says, "Oh, have you seen Bill Bear before?" And I know she's into a comedy, my auntie. She said, "No, we watched it. I was belly laughing, and so was she."
Yeah.
Whereas I wouldn't show Bill Bear to my mum because my mum just wouldn't.
yeah, of course.
You know,
it's like
If we went for a meal now, we're not all going to order the
Yours is
same.
running a bit.
I have some.
well, I'm gonna go for. We'll hold it there.
Can I have
I
a pause? Yeah,
I
yeah.
need a piss.
Yeah, let's go for a piss stop.
So you started doing all the like the Haven. Was it Haven and that you started?
I was
working
doing
for?
Havens, and I was doing. Well, I done a contract for Kudos when I was 18.
And for anyone who, sorry for interrupting there, but for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what Haven is, what is Haven?
Well, Haven holiday parks, you know, like when they're going all to a Blue Dolphin or Primrose Valley and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're the type of places I was doing, but I wasn't doing like stand up really, because you have to do a 45-minute set, and I didn't really have that amount of material back then. So I was doing like shows. I'd done the show called Clown Town, so I was doing like loads of different sketches and stuff. I'd done a couple of impressions. Then I'd done a season where I just done like 10 minutes and brought a magician on, 10 minutes and brought a juggler on. So then I was sort of finding my feet then.
Yep.
But them audiences can be really tough because they're just there on holiday. They're not there to watch comedy.
Yeah, of course.
So then I was doing that, and then I ended up working, I went to Mallorca to work as a comic, and that was just like...
Again, was that like people there to listen, or was it?
doing hotels.
So you cut your teeth on, really? You cut your teeth.
I didn't cut my teeth in the comedy circuit. I cut my teeth just
No, but that's good sometimes,
turning
I
up
think.
to, you know.
Because I done mine obviously support with Frank and that, like a lot of mine, I cut my teeth with that, and then weren't there to listen to me. So I had to. You have to sort of earn the.
Do you know one thing you learn very quickly with doing them type of gigs is you have command on stage.
Yeah.
You come on stage and you're commanding, and people go, "Oh shit, I'm gonna listen to him."
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
because I've seen some comics walking on and they're just like really sheepish, and I'm like.
So
Like you have a presence when you come on.
Yeah,
and
and
you
it's
can tell,
just
and that's what happens when you deal with them type of audiences, because they smell blood. As soon as they smell blood, that's it.
Yeah. See, I've been told that by you. I've been told that by Frank, by Chris, by loads of comics who've worked both circuits. And I always find it funny because when I do comedy clubs, and this is not taking anything away from anyone who's just done comedy clubs, because I love doing comedy clubs because that's what they are there for, to listen, and I love that. But sometimes I hear MCs or the other acts go, "Oh, they're a bit boisterous," and I'm like, and I go out and I'm like,
You haven't seen anything.
I'm like, they're not fucking boisterous, like. And it's like one woman who's had a drink, and I'm like,
Try Batley Working Men's Club for an hour.
yeah, I know, and I'm like,
and yeah.
try doing a sportsman's dinner where no one's there to see the comic, and it's just all blokes in the crowd.
Mate, I done a sportsman's dinner with Ian Wright, and a fight broke out
Yeah.
during my act, and I just was commentating it. I was doing Motson.
Yeah.
When he's ducked the right hand. And I've got to say that was a very. When he's come back, he's gone with the double leg takedown. But everyone and people were laughing because I was.
Yeah.
But I'm
that's
old
crowd
school.
work.
I'm old school in the sense where I go, I've got to do my time.
Yeah, of course.
I've got
Yeah.
to do my time with it. Even if I'm thinking, God, this is tough. They are a bunch of wankers tonight, but I do my time and I get my feet.
I
and
think
that's-
I think a massive error that a lot of comics do is when a joke doesn't land and they go, huh, "That kills in every other room." I think you're insulting the audience when you
Course
say
you
that
are.
sometimes.
Because
You know,
they're
and
not going to laugh at everything that you say. You've got to remember that everyone's got a different sense of humour.
Yeah.
And when you're in a comedy club, I mean, most of the time your stuff does land, but there's a time where you go, it does throw you though sometimes, because you're going, that normally does. And I think their way of getting over it is by saying it out loud.
Yeah, maybe,
You know.
yeah. So I've never looked at it that way. Yeah, I appreciate that you're saying that. Yeah, like that thing, because obviously what you're saying there, definitely. Because I've never looked at it. I always thought it's a bit of a big-headed thing, but maybe it is a bit of anxiety.
Sometimes it's like it catches you off guard, and you go, wow.
And you don't know what to say, so you say, "Oh,"
You don't know what to say.
and you feel a bit embarrassed, so you're like, "Fuck it." That
Instead of
usually.
standing there and shitting yourself, you just go.
So when was the?
Gaslighting the crowd.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's you.
So when was the first ever time you like done like the comedy circuit. Can you remember?
Comedy circuit, I started doing. It was a guy called Miles Crawford at Joe Club Comedy Clubs.
Right.
And I'd done an open spot for him, and then he had land straight away.
Is that because you'd already done so much?
Probably.
And you started writing your own material then?
Yeah, that's when I started writing all my own stuff then.
And then you
Whereas previous to that, I was just telling old gags.
Yeah.
And then I
But it got your
that.
stage presence, didn't it?
Do you know, you watch them guys who do the dinners and they do like, you know, the holiday park, the cabaret type-esque comedians, what they have over most of the circuit comics are that stage presence.
Yeah.
They've
I've
just
seen it
got
myself.
that showbiz about them, you know? And I got criticised actually by another comic. He says, you come across too showbiz. I went, well, that's what you think. I don't give a shit. I'm not changing what I do because it works for me.
Yeah, of course, if it's working,
Walking
why
on in
change
the
it?
suit and, you know.
Why change it at football team if the football team's winning? Do you
Exactly. That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's the best. Yeah. I'm going to use that one.
know? It's true though, isn't it?
I'm going to
It's
say that. Someone else says that to me. Well, fucking let me tell you.
But so you were doing the comedy for a little bit longer. How many years? And then did you decide, right?
Well, I stopped for a bit. I'd done Mallorca, and then I went and done a job on a cruise ship for 9 months as a host. So I was doing quizzes and game shows, and I was doing my act on there, like at the end of the week.
Is that like MC and sort of like you do James at
so I
some of
was
the comedy
doing
nights?
like hosting a quiz and like deal or no deal and all
Bingo.
that stuff. Bingo.
And did you used to throw your impressions in now and again? Just
Yeah.
and you'd get a laugh, and would you get a buzz? And would you get a
that's when-
buzz?
Yeah. And that's when
That
I
must
just,
be a great place to test material.
But also as well, it was like cruise ships, you had to be careful what you say because they're on holiday and, you know, you didn't want to upset anybody. And I remember I was doing quizzes were just great. You know, like some of the questions you used to ask, there was one of them was who was the Prime Minister before Gordon Brown, and this woman wrote Lionel Blair, which I just thought was because people genuinely thought that was the answer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was great. You had fun doing quizzes. And then I used to do my act at the end of the week, but there'd already been a comic on as the guest cabaret.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to know like people like Paul Eastwood, Rudy West,
Yep.
you know, Andy Wilkins, Phil Doyle, and those guys used to come on and then they'd watch me act and sort of
Pick you apart.
pick us apart and tell us what I could be doing and what I should be doing.
Yeah, which is always good. It's always good.
It's great because them guys are doing it for a living, so you got to respect that, and they're making a very nice living at that as well, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And then after that, I was entertainment manager on the North Sea ferries. I didn't sort of take the jump just yet, so I wasn't doing stand up for like about 2 years. And then I went back on the Island Escape as a host, and then Paul Eastwood, I remember he just said to me, he said, boy, because he used to call me boy. He used to say, boy, he said, you're just gonna have to go out and do it if you want to do it. He said, you can't be pissing about on these things. And that's when I done it. I just went, right, okay. And I just went on. But even when I was there, I was in Torquay. I was at the Barbican Theatre. God, I remember right. I was at the Barbican Theatre. This is a bit of a personal story, but you won't mind, so it doesn't matter. I was about 26, and I just had a circumcision, right? And I had,
Why
to
was
do a
that?
I had to do a show because it was just dating when I was banging.
And a bit of a big dick in that.
But you're normally meant to get it done like when you're younger.
Yeah.
God, I remember as well, the nurse after I'd had the operation, she come over and she just went to me, can I just warn you, you're going to be in absolute agony
After.
when you get an erection. And I was like, well, can you fuck off then? Because you're fit as fuck.
I passed out when I had my first piss
Did you?
in the toilet. I was like
I got a boner.
banging on the door, going help.
Oh my God, I got a boner and it was just like, oh
A
my
boner.
God.
I haven't heard the word boner. I haven't heard the word boner since I was in like year 10.
Dude, where's my car?
Why did you turn American there?
Oh my God, I got such a boner, man. It was like, but it's weird what you call it. What do you used to call it in school? There was loads of words.
Stiffy.
Stiffy.
Remember a stiffy? I used to get a stiffy. But then, when you were like 5, you used to go. I remember I would tell my little brother, he's 18 now. He was about 5 and he went to me mum. He said, my tail's sticking up. He said, it happens every time I think about boobies.
Pull up a chair, son. We've got some stuff to talk about. Oh, God.
It happens every time I think about boobies. Brilliant. And then I remember I had it done and I was like, oh, God. I had to do this show the next day at the Barbican Theatre. But you had to do little dance routines and that as well.
And your cheb's just rubbing against your pants.
our money. It was so funny because I was sharing a dressing room with Ben Nickley. He was on Britain's Got Talent just this year. He was in the show as well. And these two gay guys who just got married, they were together. And Ben was asking me questions, and I just went, "Hey, lads, do you want to look?"
Oh, were they asking you about you?
And they went, "Yeah," and I just got it out. And like, it was funny, one of the gay guys just went, "Oh my God, that has fucking turned me straight." Yeah. It was like, and as I was showing it, like the producer literally walked in and he's seen it as well.
Did he?
It was just like,
Did you not have a bandage on it or?
I was bandaged up, but I took the bandage off and I showed them. It was like embarrassing bodies live, mate. Do you know what I mean? I was like,
it's mad what men do with each other, isn't it? Like what they text. My mate took some Viagra not long ago. I won't mention his name. And then he just like, and then he just messaged me, and he was like, "Oh, mate, I'm in James Cook Hospital." And I was like, "What for?" And his heart on wouldn't go down.
Really?
And he was like, I was like, "What really? Is it bad?" And then he just sent me a picture of him on the hospital bed with his fucking cock in a bandage. And I was like, his mushroom was like, it's like massive, you know. It's like sitting there, said it was dangerous, like, you know, like if they didn't get it, so they had to like take fluid out and stuff. You know, like
I always think this just happens in films. That when you
that's what I thought as well. Like
well, my cousin, now Ben, he's a little bastard sometimes. He spiked my stepdad's drink with it one, and it didn't kick in the next day. He was walking around next.
to a chubby hanger.
Yeah. And he went, "Fucking hell."
Yeah, because you take it, you've got to be in the mood for sex, haven't you? You've got to be thinking about sex if you take Viagra, haven't you?
I remember,
I think it works when I was young. Want it to, most
when
of
I
the
was
time,
younger, I used to think that like you take Viagra and it just your dick goes boom straight up. But you've got to be like in the mood for sex, haven't you? When you take it,
my mate brought some that Viagra jelly back from Thailand.
Yeah.
And we were only like 17, 18, but this lad was a bit older. And anyway, we'd all like had some. And the next day, everyone's going, "Oh my God, I've still won't go down." And I went, "Well, fuck, I didn't think it worked." I said, "I thought it was shite."
Yeah.
"What you're on about?" I said, "Well, I rubbed it on." I said, "And how it happened?" He said, "You meant to eat."
I was like,
going, "Fucking hell."
we had a mate in school when everyone started going on the sunbeds. And like we used to go on the sunbeds like a 16-year-old. I don't go on them now. I don't promote them now. I'd rather put bloody fake tan on me than get a chance of getting skin cancer. But we used to obviously when sunbeds when everyone started getting into it when they're like 16-year-old. We used to all go there, and he just didn't change colour. He didn't get tanned. He was just pale all the time. And then we found out what he was doing was, when you go in the sunbed and you go in the cubicle and you put the money in. And then you go into the sunbed. He was just putting the money in and standing outside, not even going in the sunbed. Just in his pants until the time went down. For about 3 weeks, he was going there.
Shite this.
Just like didn't even go in the sunbed, just putting his money in, standing out like that.
I've done it before where I've stood there and nothing happened, and I didn't know you had to put the money in. So like I've done that.
Yeah. Well, he used to just go there and put the money in though. The sunbed, he'd have seen it lit up, but the door hasn't opened the door.
He might as well have just give that money to an homeless person.
He would stand shit time at the cinema. He just gives his money and stand up.
I know you'd stand outside.
Listening to
enjoy the film.
So obviously,
done the Barbican Theatre, and then I had like a couple of day jobs and all. I was working for Yodel in the office. I worked in a fish factory. I lasted 2 days. Oh my God.
I couldn't do that, me.
Just stunk. Horrible. Whoa. Doing a bit of agency work and that, and then I became professional full time. 2013.
Was that when you done Britain's Got Talent, or?
No, 2015, and I got approached to do that. They asked me to turn up the Hen and Chickens in Islington in London. Mm-hmm. So I'd done a spot. The rang the next day saying they want me in front of the judges. They want me to do Manchester.
Was that in front of the judges on the telly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I says, okay, Manchester, that's fine. I says, that's probably the closest place to me. Then the rang us and said, can you do Edinburgh? Because it'll be the judges'
What, Edinburgh Fringe or Edinburgh?
The Edinburgh.
Britain's Got Talent.
That's the place they're going to be filming at the Festival Theatre in Edinburgh. They said, can you do that? And I says, well, I already got Manchester in my data. Like, you're messing us about here. They said, listen, where are you going to be? I said, well, I'm going to be in London, like the day before. They went, don't worry, we'll get your flights to Edinburgh. We'll put you up in an hotel. We'll get you a taxi from the air. And I'm going, hang on, isn't this meant to be a talent show where you turn up and you've got to queue up and this, that and the other? And
yeah.
Anyway, got there. I was hanging around. I was bored. I went, oh, fuck this, I'm going to the pub. So I went to the pub at the side. I had a drink with these old women. They were class. I says, oh, what you doing here then? They says, oh, because I just talk to anybody, mate. I'm sure we all the same.
Yeah.
This is we're going to watch the Britain's Got Talent thing tonight. You can't wait. I said, I'm doing that tonight. They went, hey, get out here. You're not fucking doing that. Get this shite, you know. I was like, oh, yeah. I said, I'm doing some impressions. Oh, yeah, really? I said, anyway, I better go. I said, because they're probably wondering where I am. So went in. They said, right, you're on 6th or 7th. And do you know what's horrible? When you can hear people on before you and they're getting buzzed. Them buzzers are so loud. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So loud. Anyway, I went on and I introduced myself, and he said, what's your name? I said, Danny Posthill. And
just Simon Cowell.
Said, yeah, he said that sounds like could be a pop star's name. And then Amanda went, is that what you're going to do for us today? I says, no, I'm going to do some impressions. And Sam said, do you do that for a living? I says, well, yeah. I said, I do cause people to sneeze. When I'm telling you about that Simon Cowell has an allergic reaction on people, do you know what I mean?
That was my buzzer.
So, and this is so you can do some impressions. I says, yeah. This is do you do that for a living? I says, well, yeah. I said, I do comedy clubs and bits and pieces. And he said, what's the circuit like now? I said, well, the money's not great. You have to do some gigs to make your money up. This was all aired, this. And then he said, what would mean more, the money or the Royal Variety? I said, well, the money, because I want to get a house. I was skint at the time, you know. And then he said, I don't know whether you noticed, but I was actually on the last Royal Variety performance. I says, all right. And David piped up and he says, to be honest, Simon, there's a difference between going on and saying 7 words and introducing on an act than actually hosting it like I did, you know, and everyone was laughing. He said, anyway, Danny, best of luck. So I'd done Billy Connolly, John Bishop, Barlow, Beckham, and then I'd done McIntyre. When I'd done McIntyre, I went, who also hosted the Royal Variety performance? Simon, yes, me and David hosted. We didn't say 7 words and introduced on an act. And it brought the house down.
Yeah.
Simon had the right ump.
Oh, did he?
Oh, he had the right ump. He hated it.
Really?
So
did he buzz?
I finished with a stand ovation. And brilliant. Got to Simon. Well, it was all right. Everyone's going, boo. He went, why did you do Billy Connolly? And Amanda went, because we're in Scotland, Simon. I said, thank you, Amanda, because we're in Scotland, Simon. Next question. Oh, well, I pissed him off even more.
Yeah.
I have literally poked the lion in the cage. And this is like the big boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He went,
he's either thinking, I'm going to fuck.
Beckham was any good either, so I think anyone can do him. I went, oh, really? I said, you do it now then. And
did you say?
Everyone started going, do it. On my side, so he hated that. He says, well, I thought it was all right. He said, I just feel like you need to raise the bar. He said, but the reason you done well is because you're funny. And I like, yeah. But I feel like that sounded scripted, what he said. And when I watch it back, and they cut all that other bit out when I done the McIntyre bit about David and all that.
Yeah.
So they really cut that bit down. And then I didn't want to do the semi. I just thought, nah, this is a load of shite. Until I got through. We went to the reveal and I got through. And then I done the semi-final. And to be fair, the producers were helpful with me because I was going back and forward with material. So I would film my set and I'd send it to them what I was going to do. And they'd say, yeah, that's good. Definitely do the Ant and Deck bit. Which really helped me in the semi-finals. It got me through to the final, that bit. And then the final, I had a migraine. The day of the final. Have you ever had a migraine before?
I don't think I have, I've had some pretty bad headaches, but no, migraines will
on
just...
anyone, because you can't get the covers off your head. Oh, I was in so much pain. And then they were my agent rang me and said, they're trying to make out that you bottled it, and I'm going, so the doctor come in, she give me all these pills, fuck knows what she give me, cocodamol, something else beginning with E. It wasn't ecstasy, but I think it was worse to that effect, because I watched myself back in the final, I was off my tits.
Right.
Off my tits, but I knew I wasn't going to win because I just think Britain's Got Talent is, when you're doing impressions as well, everyone's got to know who you're doing. And I feel like it's very sort of selective, because he was saying to me, oh, don't do Dara O'Brien and don't do Johnny Vegas. They were the ones who more or less tweeted it or retweeted it. They loved it. But yeah, and then that was that, and I came 7th. Callum Scott came 6th. Look where he is now.
Who's Callum Scott again?
Sings Dancing on My Own.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good cover. Yeah, he's done.
He's brought some tunes out. He signed a 10 million record deal with Capitol.
Yeah.
Simon Cowell's kicking himself for that. But I think when you do comedy, it was good. Like people say, oh, you've made it if you've got to the final, but you haven't.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was the first step. Because then since then, I've never stopped working. Obviously, COVID had a massive impact. But with COVID, I just got on with it. I just, I didn't fuck around. I wrote a book called The Non-Essential Worker. The government gave me that title, cheeky bastards. I didn't think of that. And then I just thought I'll write about being a comedian in lockdown, and I write about Britain's Got Talent, and so I sell them books after my gigs.
You've done well with your books, haven't you? And we'll put a link. You got a link for the books.
Well, yeah, we'll stick a link.
Yeah,
on
you
there.
can get them City Steel Press, or you can just DM me on my Facebook page, Danny Posthill Comedian.
Yeah.
We'll put one over to you.
We'll put that on the YouTube.
And I've done I've had a special out since then. That's on Ustream on Jim Davidson's channel.
So Jim Davison, it's obviously again someone who's big TV name years ago, and then obviously now he's got his own Ustream channel. Obviously a bit of an old school comic, but very clever comic.
Jim's a brilliant comic. He's just you watch him on stage, it's just this monster that comes alive.
What's your thoughts on the way people like Jim, Chubby, them type of comics have been treated?
Disgusting. Because if you don't like their comedy, don't go and watch them. Don't try and cancel them just because you don't like them. It's these counsellors, like when they're trying to cancel Chubby Brown. It's like just because you don't like them, there's loads of... And also, Chubby Brown represents working class people. So working class people want to go and watch Chubby Brown, and this person was a Labour councillor. And I just thought, come on. It's just such a contradictive thing to happen,
There might not be any new Roy Chubby Browns or new Jim Davidsons that will come out, and they are from a time when that's what was popular. It wasn't.
And
no one was getting offended.
People want to go and watch it, and these people who say, "Oh, he's a racist, he's this, he's that," he's doing jokes. There's a difference between a joke and malicious intent, and this is what people don't realise. Yeah. And people sort of would say, "Oh, Dan, you're a racist then for saying that." No, I'm not. I'm just very open to free speech, and
just open-minded.
To think what they want. If there's certain comedians I don't like, I just won't go and watch them. I'm not going to sit and slag them off just because I don't like their comedy, or I'm going to say that they're this or they're that, because what do I get out of that? What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can learn a lot from watching every comic.
Yeah. You can, especially from Jim's era. I mean, you watch someone like Bobby Davro. Now that's where you learn stagecraft. You watch the way he works a crowd. You watch the way he has his command on a stage. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Things like that. You learn a lot through watching someone like that.
And even a lot of the top American comics who I watch now, I always go on about them to you. You watch them, but some of the stuff that they talk about on stage as well, it'd probably be cancelled in the UK. If there were a UK comic.
Yeah.
And
one of my favourite comics, and I'm so devastated that I was late to the party with him, was Ralphie May.
All right.
Oh, he is just hilarious. How he can talk about the most controversial things, but because he's so intelligent and how he draws you in with a story, he's just so funny.
Yeah.
How he elaborates on it.
Yeah, that's what... I love a good storyteller, me. Someone who can just, who's clever. And I love a comedian like for example, Jim Jeffries or something like that, who can...
Jim Jeffries is superb.
Who can hit you with so many, things that you think, wow, that's out of order. But then he can counteract it and make you think, oh yeah, that's why he's saying that,
I was watching him on TikTok the other day, and he was on about he hasn't drunk for 18 months or something, has he?
Yeah, I know.
So I've been in the alcohol for 18 months. He says, but you know what? I discovered weed.
Yeah. So he's into his...
I'm like, there has to be something then, doesn't there?
Yeah,
where's my vice?
He's just so... That gun control routine.
Oh, it's one of the best.
And he's doing it in America.
That's insane, isn't it?
Do you know, me and Amy were in Washington, in DC, and we were in a Uber, getting a train back to the station to go back to New York. And I was pissed, and I started saying about guns in America. I don't agree with it, and this, that, and the other. And Amy's just in the back going, Dan, shut the fuck up. He might have one on him.
I was going to say, yeah.
They're very passionate, aren't they?
Oh, my God. Talking about guns in America is like fucking walking into some religious building and taking the piss out of their God,
Yeah, definitely.
And I just you can't... America, and looking back, I'm like...
I mean, I can't say.
Danny's not a sensible Danny, is he? You know.
I can't say anything about. I'm like the worst person in the world for just putting my foot in my mouth, and I don't even mean to do it with me. But I think that's why people. I think now that, especially the comedy circuit, are getting to know me as well now. They'll probably realise that's just my personality. I don't even.
Yeah.
I'm a friendly person. I'd never. Everything I do on stage is just me being daft. You know, like and like.
Do you know what's funny? I was with a mate of mine yesterday, and there's another one of our mates, and he's just a pissed. He's every other word he takes the piss. You know what I mean? And I was on about a mate of mine who's got some disease, and he has to take like 2,000. He has to drink these things that are 2,000 calories. And he has to have 7,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
And he just went, all right. And I went, if Paul was here now, he'd probably say to me, that's what you have, you fat bastard, or something like that. Like, he wouldn't be able to help himself.
So Paul Eastwood, is that your...
No. Also, Paul Eastwood sadly passed away.
Yep.
It was awful what happened, really. He was...
Because I know he was... I know you do a lot of...
So Paul Eastwood took the piss all the time. I mean, he's no longer with us now, but he said to me, I said, it must be the name Paul, because most people I know called Paul just like love taking the piss.
Yeah.
They can't help it. He goes, I said, you'd take the piss out of me if I was on my deathbed, wouldn't I? He went, yeah. I said, what would you say? He said, I'd probably say something like, well, at least you don't have to worry about your council tax.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He just...
So was Paul someone you looked up to when you...
Yeah, well, he was when I was on the ship. He come on as cabaret,
Yep.
and there was him and Phil Doyle and Rudy West. They were the main comics who would sort of take me under their wing, you know, and help me along, and sort of listen to me and go, oh, that's good, that's, you know, drop that, and they'd really help me out with stuff, you know. And then me and Paul become really good friends, and then, God, when I found out how he died, it was fucking horrible. Like, so his wife caught. I'm sure Cree won't mind me telling you this. But yeah, he had a terrible accident. He fell off a balcony, and he was in intensive care, and it was touch and go whether he was going to make it. And then, if he did make it, he would have just been bedbound for the rest of his life. And his wife just said, you know, this is not what he would have wanted. And I says, I know.
Did it have a massive impact on you at the time?
I was fucking heartbroken, mate. I remember before I had a gig that night when I found out he died. But I thought he would want me to be working. And funny enough, it was one of his clubs and all.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll have to do it. And I remember I sat there in this bar and I'd done about fucking 6 glasses of wine in, and I was just crying all day.
Yeah.
And I thought, I need to fucking sort myself out. And I had a bit of food, turned up at the gig, had a cup of coffee, had a couple of pints of soda water, and I'd done the gig. And there were a bunch of rowdy bastards. I'm thinking, this is all I fucking need. Do you know what I mean? I've been like sobbing my heart out all day because one of my best mates has just died.
Yeah.
And then, but I think that's another thing as well. Like, you listen to stories. Do you remember Mike Reid?
Yeah.
He had an awful situation. His son was messing around. I'm not 100% quoted right on this story, but this is what someone told me. His son was messing around with a shotgun and shot himself, killed himself. And apparently Mike went to work that night, done a gig that night.
I wouldn't be able to do it. And that's not taking nothing away from my...
No, I know.
People deal with stuff different ways, but...
But that's the thing as well, like, when you're a comedian, people forget that you could have had a bereavement and you've gone to work that night.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course. I've done it. I've done it. My uncle died last year, the day before my gig. Like, I was found dead. And I remember telling you, I think. And then I was gigging the same night, and me auntie and like all my aunties and my mum and that said, just go to the gig still. And then as soon as I walked into the gig to do it, I think I was on with Larry Dean. I went to the toilet, and as I went to the toilet, there was a local bloke in the toilet. He was like, "Hey James, all right? Sorry about your Uncle Vince." Like,
so he knew.
And I'm about to go on stage, and I'm thinking, so it's like in the back of your mind.
You don't want to be reminded.
You're trying to push it into the. You think I've got to go on there now and be really funny, but I also know my family are in loads of pain, and I know like everyone's in really like it's a crap time, but like you've got to, and that's what, and it's not saying, oh yeah, look at us, we're heroes, because to be honest, we have a good life. Doing comedy, we have a great life.
Of course we do.
I'd rather be doing that. I'd rather be doing that than going on.
I was sat doing this gig for a load of farmers, and I was having dinner with them. I hate doing that, by the way. Sitting having dinner with people before you have to go and.
I don't do it now. I
always say to the agent, look, if it's a corporate, I say, can I just turn up and do it?
Yeah.
I don't want to sit with them. Like, nothing against them.
Yeah, it's because you're nervous and you've got things on your mind. Not nervous, but you're thinking, right, I've got to.
You've got a job to do.
When you like what Liam's just said there, you've got a job to do. Sometimes, like I have a some people come to watch me gig sometimes, and don't get me wrong, I'm very, obviously you've seen me gig loads, and I'm very comfortable when I go on stage. I come across very confident, and
I think it's therapy sometimes,
But sometimes someone can be talking to me in the back room, and I'm thinking like, and sometimes they don't know that, but I feel like saying to them like, mate, I'm going on in 5, like, give us a little bit of space. I'm not like, I just need to get my head into the game.
Your head right, don't you?
Because you can't just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, when you're gigging all the time, like you're very busy at the moment, and obviously, which you are, and obviously I'm still busy now, but when I was gigging constant on tour support, and we were out like all the time, it becomes a routine. It becomes to the point where like I'm literally like texting before I'm about to go on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, right, I'm going on now. I'm literally, and sometimes even for a laugh, I'd send Corinne, like I'd send her a WhatsApp when you record the sound.
Yeah.
I'd send her a recording and say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, James County, and then I press the recording off and put my phone in my pocket and walk on. So she's like, I'm texting at that point saying, listen, I've got no time to text now. I'll see you. I'll speak to you in half an hour and let you know I've smashed it.
It's great that you have a wife who understands you as well, because like my wife Amy, well, she's a dancer.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say wife yet. She doesn't let me. We're not married, are we?
Oh, you're not married?
No,
sorry,
no.
I didn't know you was married.
No, we're
you
not
weren't
married.
Right, okay. But yeah, if you've got a wife that understands what you do as well, that's just so much easier.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
Otherwise the stress. I mean, even if you fly, because I fly out, I do gigs abroad and that. Some people look at that like you've got this lovely glamorous life, and you're sat in the sun drinking fucking sangria. Which, to be fair, I do sometimes. I'll get there, I'll have a couple of sangrias, I'll go and have my sleep.
Yeah.
Then I'll go and have something to eat, then do the show. But then I've got to be up the next day, 6 o'clock to catch a flight, because I've got to get to another gig the next night in fucking Birmingham or something like that, People don't realise. Whereas Amy gets that. She's been on the road with me, she knows. Whereas some people would go, I'm at home working all week while you're out there doing that. I'm like, yeah, do you not realise I've had hardly any sleep in the past 2 days?
Yeah, but
I've had to be up and I've had to...
I the last few days, I've gigged in, I was in Sheffield, drove to Sheffield, gigged Sheffield, drove back from Sheffield, drove back to Sheffield the next night. I didn't stay over because I wanted to be with my family a bit. Then drove to Grimsby the next night, then off back to Liverpool the next night, and like back and forth. It was like something like over 1,000 and something miles, driving, like over a few, and then after them, like 4 days, I've been on them adrenaline highs, and they've come down.
Crash, mate.
You suddenly have like a day off, and you're like, woof, and it hits you, doesn't it? It hits you so hard.
I'm getting the train this week.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Comedy Lounge in Hull for 2 nights.
I'm on there next week.
Yeah.
So we're not on. So I'm on there.
I mean, I'm not, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm staying in a hotel for 2 nights because Amy's away anyway, so I thought I don't have to be home for anything. And also, sometimes it just takes that stress off you.
Yeah.
Because when you're driving, and especially the amount of idiots that are on the road, I get road rage, mate.
Yeah. I get road rage, like.
Terrible.
I try my hardest not to. I want to fight people and that.
Yeah.
I
followed a bloke once, and I felt bad. He lived in fucking... I can't remember where I was going. I was on my way back from Newcastle, and I think I followed him to Washington. Just to prove a point, to say, fuck, don't cut me up again. But then I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I could have been home by now.
Yeah.
Like, I went to follow this bloke. Like, just because I went fucking Mr. Lunatic.
I've got a mate who, I think I told you before when we were talking about road rage, I've got a mate who we were driving before he was driving.
Yeah.
And I just wish I was as chilled. He's probably one of my most chilled mates. Doesn't get in any trouble. He's just really one of the people who's really funny. He's called Craig. He's hilarious. Like he's not on stage. He's probably one of the funniest people I've ever met in my whole life.
Yeah.
Like, and we were driving before, and as he went over the roundabout, he obviously like took the chance, and there's a car coming towards him. As the car's coming towards him, it went, Ding. Like my guy was like going, Ding, and like shaking his head. And obviously me and you, if we were driving, you'd be like, who are you beeping at?
Yeah.
And he was like, seeing him, he's off it, isn't he? like buzzing over it.
Yeah.
But he's the same type of guy who's got loads of crack, like he'll just say something like I said to him, I was at a family party before, and I said, it was a good laugh. He's like, was it any good? I said, yeah. He said, what were you doing? Just throwing popcorn in your face like Jim Carrey, telling jokes, on Dumb and Dumber. Like he's just got like the crack,
But also, when it comes to road rage, I remember when I was younger, and sometimes you let your mouth go before you look up.
Yeah.
And I'd done it before, and this bloke was fucking massive. and I shit myself. I was only about 19 or something. And that should have learnt me back then.
Did you look at him and go, big eater, the idea you feel?
Well, you would like to think so, wouldn't you? But then also, the bigger they are, the harder they hit. So you need to remember that as well.
Can't put muscle on your chin, son.
But yeah, no, it's and there's all that goes with it, isn't it? You know, the travelling, the airports, the train stations, the service stations. It's hard to have a good diet as well.
Oh yeah, it is. Unless you,
I think you're more disciplined than me with regards to. I love a drink, mate. Like,
you do like a drink.
When I finish work, if someone's going out, I'm out. I'm there. You know what I mean? And sometimes I go, well, oh my god, if I'm working every night, I don't.
I think
I'll probably have a couple of. I won't bother on Friday in Hull, but then Saturday night I'll have had, because I've got a double on Saturday. I'll have had 2 gigs and I'll go. I think there's a couple of people who I know coming to the gig on Saturday, so I'll probably have a couple with them. I won't go mad, but it's just a nice sort of wind down after the gig, you know.
Well, you said when you come off stage, you do have that. You have that. It's like going on a roller coaster. You get that adrenaline rush. You get that massive high. Everyone's singing your name. It's the best thing ever. And then you back down to earth. You kind of need a bit of a pick me up to kind of process it, I guess. I would imagine.
Like, I can do a gig and then finish and go in my hotel room, and if I'm banging into something on Netflix, I'm like, I can't wait. I just want to finish the gig. I want to get back and I want to watch this on Netflix. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I suppose like anyone else finishing work and wanting to get home to have the tea and watch something, you know.
Yeah.
And eating late at night, I've stopped doing that. I'm trying to stop doing that. Because that's how you just pile the bloody pounds on.
Yeah.
I think it's sat down as well, travelling, isn't it? You're not moving.
No.
So I'm trying to get back into the gym, I was telling you. I'm trying to just get out in the morning, running or walking, running, and just burn some calories. Because if you're travelling to a gig, you just sat down. So you're not burning any calories. You're burning a few calories.
It's like you sat in an office at a computer all day.
Yeah.
Cups of tea and a...
You never see a skinny crane operator, do you?
No, exactly. Or a lorry driver.
You don't see
Unless
him,
it's genetics.
Yeah.
You know? But then you see, like,
there?
my uncle, right, his mate has been doing this job, and he's shifting fucking cement, and he's doing this. He's literally lost about 3 stone in 2 months, just because of his job.
Yeah, physical
and
job.
sometimes I think to myself, fucking hell. Like, I've had 4 days off this, so I feel like I just want to go to work with him just to shift a couple of stone, you know?
Yeah. I used to be mad into my fitness, obviously, when I was boxing. I used to be stupid, though, like, you know, like the training I do. And even when I was working away, the lads used to say, oh, he'll move the barrels and all that. He'll love it. He'll do it as a bit of fitness.
Yeah.
And I wasn't being thick doing it. I genuinely would be like, yeah I'll do it.
Oh,
you know,
it's good 'cause
bit of
it's...
cracking out.
Yeah.
And we used to, like, lift these big barrels up with, like these few litre drums. I'd lift, and I used to do like a farmer's walk with them, you know, taking them to different content, thinking that this is a bit of a workout in my head, you know, constantly. You know, I was never. Now I'm like, but I've been watching a lot of David Goggins.
Who's that?
Is it David Goggins? Is David Goggins in it?
I can't remember. I don't think I've heard
But David Goggins in. He's an absolute machine. You'll know what I mean.
Yeah. What, is he like a fitness guy like Joe
you'll
Wicks?
know what I mean. You'll know exactly what. Oh no, he's bigger than Joe Wicks, man.
Oh, is he the guy Joe Rogan was on about?
Yeah,
he's an absolute machine.
Yeah, if you put videos into him and just put motivational or something after it, and if you just
Didn't he have a blood clot in his leg and still do like a fucking 20k run or something like that? Like, he's something crazy.
If you put David Goggins motivational stuff, and he's just like,
Stay hard.
Must have been listening to us talking about
must be a short one where like best in motivational. Yeah, what is there any that's like short? What's that one there?
4 minutes.
Yeah, click that one. Click that one. Turn it.
Speech.
This needs a ledge. Listen.
Self-discipline is everything. If you don't have it, I'll look at you right, because I know you're capable of more. It's not discipline so much for me. It's all on you. It's all on you. The self part is what's big. Where you're going to fail, and you're going to be in your head, you're going to be saying, I'm not good enough. And it's how you get through that. It's how you get through that on a daily basis, when that thing is saying, man, I'm 43, I've done so much. You start to become civilized. The refrigerator gets full. You start making money, and you start, I'm not getting cold anymore. I'm retired. And at 40, people shouldn't be playing basketball or football or beating them up. You start to believe this shit. And it becomes in your fucking mind like, there's people who are retired, you know, at 40-something years old or 30-something years old. At 43, I'm still putting 100-mile weeks, still doing thousands of pull-ups, thousands of push-ups. because I'm not allowing myself to become civilized.
You get what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
he's like, but he talks about
And do you know he's right what he's saying there, because like I'll go and do jiu-jitsu like once. Well, if I'm not injured, I've done my ribs in lately, but I'll go once a week there.
Yeah.
And honestly, you do that for an hour and you're knackered. You're absolutely full. But then I'm going, like I've done exactly the same as what he was saying there. Oh, you know, I'm reaching. I'm 36 now. I'm nearly 37. I'm pushing for. I'm doing well going there once a week. Well, actually, no, because there's lads who go to jiu-jitsu
Well,
with
this is what-
57-year-old and they still manage a class.
Yeah.
So it should be a piece of piss for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And this
I'm
is
just
what-
being a lazy man.
You just make excuses for yourself. Don't you?
Yeah,
'Cause you
I'm
don't-
making
you don't want
excuses
to
for
do it.
myself.
Yeah.
So, and it is excuses, 100% excuses. And the reason I know this as well is because when I used to box, he says something that I used to think in my head, because everyone used to say to me, and I was a lot younger then, obviously. When I was like 23-year-old going for 5-mile runs every morning, just about every morning, as well as training on the night, people used to go to me, "Oh, how would you have the time?" And like I used to think, I used to say, just make the time. Like, but because I was doing it that much, I was that fit with it. I was hungry, and now I'm like, I have used that excuse, the same thing he's saying.
What
like,
have I got to train for? That's what you think, don't you?
What have I got to train for? And he says you've got to train for, and he's right with what he says. You've got to train for your own. If you respect yourself.
Yeah.
And he said, and the guy said, well, how do you do it then? If you've got nothing to train for, if you've got no marathons to run anymore, you've got no
goals.
He's not in because he was what's he called? He was
Runner.
no, he was in the forces, but in
Oh, he's a Marine.
yeah, I think he's a Marine. What they call
Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL. He was a SEAL. So if you
Yeah.
got no SEAL training to do, like you got nothing to. What have you got? What have you got to train for? And he says, for myself, to respect myself. And he says, and you know how I do it. And I thought that's really good. That he said, I do it. He said, because I know there's loads of other motherfuckers who can do it. He said, and they're choosing not to do it. And I'm bettering myself. He said, and I keep that in my head. I'm thinking they're sat on the couch, or they're sat when they had half an hour, 40 minutes this morning to go, instead of they're laying in bed or comfortable and thinking. And I done it the other morning. It sounds so stupid. And I felt mint all day.
Yeah,
I was a bit tired, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but I went out.
You know why you're tired.
I ran for half an hour and I was looking at my watch and I'd burnt 450, 500 calories before I'd had breakfast. And I was like, if I do that every day, I'm going to keep weight off. It is
One of the best mentors I ever had, some of the advice gave me, he said, change your words, change your life. So if I'm saying to me, I can't do it, or I don't want to, I'm struggling, like, I'm not, how are you today, mate? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm telling myself.
There's a way around it.
Yeah,
There's always a way around it.
You know what, I'm fantastic,
But we choose to be lazy. It's like I've just, to be honest, I've chose to be lazy the past few weeks because I've ate my ribs. And I just thought, well, I mean, I'll go for a walk. That's my thing. I'll go for, because you can't even run when you've done your ribs in.
Yeah.
So, and I've just started doing my press-ups in the morning now. So I do like, a mate of mine showed me this thing. He's a Welsh singer. Carl Lewis, I'll tell you a story about him. It's brilliant. So basically what you do is you go in a press-up, and you do one press up and then you hold it for 1 second. Then you do two and you work up to 10.
Yep.
And by the end,
that's good.
your chest is killing you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll do that and then I'll go for my walk and I'll do.
So
I'm just starting to get back into it now.
So when you're doing it, do you do it bollock naked or?
Yeah, I do actually sometimes. It's quite liberating.
Yeah.
Just him to ask that. But my mate Carl Lewis, he's a singer. Fucking amazing. He's one of these people who he's got an amazing voice and you go and you should have made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me and him once, because he was when I was living in Torquay, he come and stayed at the house where I was staying at. And he said, should we go to the fucking arcades? Like, is there? So we went to the arcades and we were on, them mechanical horses.
Oh, yeah.
So, fucking hell, you don't realise how much they take out of you, right? So I like that, fucking going for it on the mechanical horse. Anyway, he beat me, which pissed me off a little bit because I was getting quite competitive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think he, throughout the whole thing, he came 7th, I came 8th. And then he said, oh, fucking hell. He said, I'm knackered after that. I said, I know. I said, I am as well. I said, the thing is, I said, my cousin does that 5 times a day. He went, what? He said, he goes to fucking arcades all the time. I said, no, he's a fucking jockey at that fast. As if a grown man would go, I need to do me mechanical horse 5 times a day, you know what I mean?
That's my secret, me. Saltburn Pier.
So we've got, obviously, your impressions. I'm going to name 3 impressions now.
Go on.
That I want you to do.
Yeah.
And just, so, if that all right with you?
Yeah, go on.
Great. So, Donald Trump talking about having a bad McDonald's order.
Well, you know, everybody knows that they normally do a great McDonald's, but what's happened is I walk in and they know it's me. They know it's me. They know that I'm going into this McDonald's and somebody has clearly poisoned the food. They know as soon as I walk in there, I know exactly what they're up to. I knew I took a bite, and that was it. I said, you know what? This is the worst burger I've ever tasted in my entire life, and I know exactly who did it. But the mainstream media will tell you that it was just a bad burger. It wasn't a burger that was poisoned. It was poisoned. I can tell you categorically it was poisoned. And I just know what the media is saying is fake news. I will tell you it's a poisoned burger.
Sit with a cat. Well done.
All right. So I'm trying to think of someone that you do good. You do all of them good, but I'm saying. Michael McIntyre talking about the bad job that the car wash have done from the people in the car wash.
These are great.
Well, this is a nightmare. I literally dropped off my children at private school. I wanted to drop off the car to the people who cleaned the car. I am sat there reading the newspaper. I look up and they are not cleaning the car. They are stood around talking. I don't know what language they're speaking in, but they're talking. They're talking away. I'm thinking, what is going on? I've left my car to get cleaned. This is a nightmare. I don't have a lot of time. I literally have to go and meet my accountant. But no, they are stood there. I'm like, lads. Well, I wouldn't normally say lads, but I wanted to fit in with them. I says, lads, what is going on? Why are you not cleaning my car? And he said, well, because I feel like you're not paying me enough. I'm like, the fee is on the wall. Why are you saying I'm not paying you enough? I think, well, I tell you what, I'll give you an extra £2.50. I know it's very laughable with my income, but I will give you £2.50 if you will clean my car. Is that okay with you? They start cleaning the car and they're doing a shit. They might as well have cleaned it with dog shit. Is that bad?
Amazing.
All right, another great one.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, my cheeks are hurting. My cheeks are actually hurting.
Now, my favourite one that you do to me on the phone.
Yeah.
Osama bin Laden.
I thought you were going to make me do Jimmy Savile roll.
No, Danny Posthill, absolutely brilliant guest, fantastic. I've absolutely loved Danny Posthill being on. Liam's loved him. We've been excited for Danny being on, and we'll get him on again.
Definitely,
we'll get him on.
Come on again,
definitely.
because it's just been so much fun. It's like I've just come round for a cup and we've just had and that's where a podcast is, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Come and hang out and talk shite.
So,
That's what we want.
Danny, tell the camera where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Danny Posthill Comedian. You can find me on YouTube, Danny Posthill Comedian. You can find me on Twitter at Posthill Danny. Instagram, Danny_Posthill. TikTok. I'm not on TikTok because I'm a grown up. No, I'm joking. I'm on TikTok. Danny Impressions. I'm on TikTok. So give us a follow on all them. I've got loads of content coming out. I just need to stop being a lazy bastard and edit it all and put it out there. So
Change your words, change your life, get them out.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And if you've enjoyed the episode, hit subscribe, hit like, and also, because Danny's going to be coming back on, maybe comment a few impressions you'd like to hear him do. Put it in the comment box, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.